This episode of the Co-optional Podcast is proudly sponsored by Squarespace. Whether you need a domain name, website, or online store, make your next move with squarespace.com/cooptional. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Co-optional Independence Day podcast here on July the 4th, 2017. And there's a cute dog. We have a dog.
Oh, look at the Bork.
Hello. I'm Jessica. I'm turned into a dog.
Look at the Bork.
Look at the Bork.
The Bork.
Look at that sweet little Bork.
Dear.
He's like, Bork.
Immigration procedure in this country is a nightmare. They make you turn into a small dog.
I mean, it's an easier way to... I'm not going to get political. I'm not going to start this show that way. It's too tempting.
I'm so proud of you, TV.
How could it not
you
be
felt
political?
it start to crawl out of your throat, and then you were like, no.
No.
We're two expats in America. How can this not get political?
I'm sure we'll somehow not avoid it in any way, considering...
What? I'm married to one.
That is true. That you are.
Why isn't he on here?
I'm involved.
Should
Should I trade with him?
No. He's not as popular as you are. No, we need the ratings. God damn it.
It's so rare I get a compliment.
Popular
What?
with me?
Yeah.
I mean, you showed up to the show this time, which is excellent. Very happy about that.
Me?
Yes.
It's nice to be here. It's nice to feel loved.
This boy.
The
This
face
guy
of
right
America,
here, this sweet boy.
as he likes to call himself. I'm actually kind of disappointed that I was expecting visual patriotic goofs, and what do I get? Nothing. Absolutely
I
nothing.
did this.
Trust me. I want you to know. I thought of it. I woke up today like, what do I have around here that I
Not
can
quite
wear?
the patriotic goof we were looking for.
Yeah, I was looking for a goof, and I'm goofless. I have no patriotic goofs because you know what? You don't goof around with patriotism. God bless America. Hashtag MAGA.
Well, fair enough.
There we go.
A lady put 3 tiny American flags in my yard.
Really?
I should have brought
3.
those.
Yeah,
Free
well,
flags.
They were
Yeah.
free.
Free flags.
Mm.
Well, happy Independence from Britain Day. And I think we can
Indeed.
all celebrate.
Brexit
Happy
1776,
Will
as they call
Smith
it.
saved us day.
Yeah, that's
In
what it's
honor
really
of Will
about.
Smith.
First off, it wasn't even Will Smith. It was the guy who flew into the laser who saved us. First off, Will Smith didn't do shit.
Fair enough.
It was more Jeff Goldblum and more the
It's
guy
always
who flew
the
into the
victors who
laser.
get to write history, isn't it? Fucking
Yeah,
Will
Oh,
Smith.
Randy
boys!
Quaid. Randy
Yeah.
Quaid.
Randy
Back.
Quaid, thank you. It was Randy
He had a
Quaid's
name.
sacrifice
Indeed.
who bought us the time
Bought
so that
us our
Jeff
freedom.
Goldblum could upload the virus.
But would
Thank
any of
you
those
very
people,
much.
but would any of those people have done that without Bill Pullman's stirring speech?
No, exactly.
Absolutely not.
How
Straight up.
dare
This
you
was
give Will
an
Smith all the credit?
ensemble. This is an
How
ensemble.
dare you?
You're right.
How-
I'm sorry.
Will Smith did the least of any of those people. If anything, he was the most charming, true, but that doesn't mean that he did the most work. He just flew.
He's like
everyone
the
else.
Steve Jobs of Independence Day.
Doesn't
Indeed.
it matter that the world was saved? Do we have to pick apart who did what? It's going to be the Treaty of Versailles all over again.
We just got to criticize it. He wasn't even in the second movie because, like, I survived the alien invasion, then tragically died in a test pilot accident. Only
Tragically demanded more money.
Indeed. Only to be remembered by a badly photoshopped portrait hanging on the wall in the background of a scene. Yes. Like, well, great job.
Can I just say, having seen that movie, the second one, I'm so disappointed a second one was made. I was like, none of this is worth our time.
I did
Why
not
does
watch
this
it.
exist?
It
It
is. Look, Independence Day holds a special place in my heart because the first movie was the first movie I ever went to see at the cinema.
Aw.
I didn't go to the cinema. I hadn't been to the cinema at any point until I think I was 11 or 12, and that was the
Wow.
first movie we went to see.
I think mine was Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That
good
was
starter.
Independence Day was the first midnight screening I saw, but we didn't see it at midnight. We saw it for some reason. Our theater were geniuses, and they scheduled the movie so that on July 4th it hit July 4th in real life. It was the best.
Genius.
Yeah. Oh man, when you're a kid, you're like, this is the greatest thing that ever happened to the movies in ever.
Totally.
Also, I remember, I'll never forget this. I remember the Super Bowl that before this movie came out, where they showed an ad, and the ad was literally just the White House exploding, and I was like, what the hell? And I had to go see the movie. I was in.
That scene still looks great. That scene
Yeah.
actually holds up.
I want to know where they got ID4 from for the
Yeah.
acronym.
I mean, it's Independence Day, 4th of July, isn't it?
Yeah, 4th of July. But when has any title ever done that?
Yeah, I don't know. Because I was confused when it first came out there as well. I'm like, oh, it's Independence Day 4. Yeah, but why? Why though? Why don't just call it Independence Day, which is the title of the movie? Why not? Why advertise it as this?
Why do we have to add another syllable for the shortened name?
Yeah,
What's wrong with ID or I-Day?
Yeah, I don't really know, honestly. I don't know why they marketed it that way. It
I
was
would
a bit
love
weird.
to have been. There was a meeting that was held about that. Like, well, we can't call it ID because that sounds like identification. So, like, what do we do? We can't call it I-Day. What the hell's I? No. We need a 4 because July 4th. Well, we call it ID July 4? No. July's. There was a meeting, and there was a bunch of guys, and they got together, and that's the best they could come up with.
Yeah. It's like
Have
how
you-
everyone says www, even though World Wide Web is a lot quicker to say.
Yeah,
You're right.
and less awkward. Yeah, it's a
Have you
fair
guys
point.
seen the pool floaty that looks like a giant maxi pad?
What?
Well,
That's
where
yet
did that
another.
come
That's
from?
yet another situation where
Something of a
all I could
tangent.
think when I saw the picture of it was, man, was there no ladies in there? Like, who? When they looked at a
we know the
picture of
answer
this,
is
they were like, "This
there
is
were
it."
none. Yeah, we
This
all
is
know
it.
there
We've
were
done
none
it.
in that room. Yeah.
Like you just didn't.
Chat, you don't
notice.
trust me, but I'm gonna find a picture of this shit.
I have seen the picture of it. It was like yes, that's actually quite silly. Why would you do a thing like that?
Looks exactly like a maxi pad. There you go, chat.
Down, Pepper. Down.
Thank God.
Down.
That-
Anyways,
we
Like a
went
decade,
from
yeah.
blowing up the White House to a giant maxi pad, which somehow feels kind of appropriate, but never mind. I'm going to go to bat for Independence Day 2 because it
oh
wasn't.
god, okay.
It was not as bad as people claim. Like, because the first one was terrible. The second one was also terrible in the same way that the first one was terrible.
Yeah, the bubonic plague wasn't as bad as the Spanish flu.
No, it was not. I think it was it. Was it historically or not worse?
If I had to choose which one to spend my free time doing, I would rather not have either the bubonic plague or Spanish flu, but that's just me.
Fair enough.
Is this the right time to bring up that you are a self-confessed lover of any movie, regardless of how bad they are?
Yeah, except I've discovered that does not appear to still be true. So a couple of days
Your
ago.
palate is changing.
Well, it may be or maybe not. So we decided, hey, Riff Tracks is awesome. So we're going to watch a movie with Riff Tracks, and we're looking through, and Jed's like, let's watch Jurassic Park again. We haven't seen that in ages, the original, because it was one of the top-rated Riff Tracks, and it had Weird Al Yankovic was the guest riffer.
Great.
So I'm like, how can this possibly suck? After watching that movie, which is considered a classic, it's terrible.
Jurassic
And-
Park.
Yes, it's awful.
The
It's-
original Jurassic Park?
Yes, it actually
What?
sucks.
I've watched that recently, and I still love that movie.
I don't anymore. I do not, as it turns out. I'll go
Does
as
the
far
C-
as to say
Does the
that
CG not age well?
it's not just that. It's how completely nonsensical everything that is ever done in that show is, and also how bad most of the dialogue is.
Or even the Pirates of the Caribbean line?
Which one was that?
That's where I think it was Richard Attenborough's character said, on the first day of Disneyland, nothing worked. And Jeff
Ah.
Goldblum says, yes, but when Pirates of the Caribbean broke down, the pirates didn't try to eat the tourists.
That's a good one. Also, note there is a reused line in that in Independence Day, tying it back together. Jeff Goldblum reuses "Must Go Faster, Must Go Faster."
Yes, I remember that.
Indeed.
I mean, naturally.
Was he trying to make that his own "I'll be back"?
I'm going to assume so. Jeff Goldblum is the only good bit of that movie.
What do you mean? It's a Unix system. I know this.
She knows it.
I mean, it doesn't
then-
even hold
And
together.
then Lex flies through it.
It doesn't even hold together in the corny way that Hackers
Wait,
does.
you don't.
No.
Oh my God! And Sam Neill is in that movie.
Hackers
How
is a
can you
better
not
movie
love
than
Sam
Jurassic
Neill in
Park.
every movie?
Oh,
Sam
how-
Neill
yeah,
came back
and then
for
he,
number 3.
and then he understands and falls in love with the kids. He doesn't want to raise kids, but then he hangs out with the kids and he falls in love with the kids.
And I
Oh, come on.
Because they're
Come
both
on.
incredibly annoying and stupid.
What? She knows the Unix system.
Yeah.
Hi, there is
Which-
a
What do you mean?
There is a we can clearly see a Tyrannosaurus Rex standing above our Jeep. My plan is to get the brightest flashlight possible and shine it at the Tyrannosaurus Rex and wave it around like an idiot.
Tyrannosaurus Rex.
The
It's a Tyrannosaurus
I'm
Rex.
hunting a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Well, they
Well, I
made
don't have-
they made that joke. I'm very, very quiet. I'm hunting raptors. Like, I will give them credit for one thing. It is maybe the only movie I've seen where somebody uses the stock on a SPAS 12 shotgun. That is true.
Really?
Yep. Most of the time, if there's a great Xbox Ahoy video about the SPAS 12, there was a period in the 90s where everybody was using it was like, this looks cool and awesome, so every Hollywood movie's using it. And nobody's using the fold down stock. They're just sort of leaving it up. The hunter guy, the smart hunter guy, the park ranger in Jurassic Park, uses the fucking stock.
Muldoon.
Indeed.
Crazy.
He uses the stock. That's the best and only good part of that movie.
We
Jurassic
also
World
talk
is
about-
actually a better movie.
Not only are you wrong about Jurassic Park being bad, but also the book is way better. And
Yes.
spoilers for the book.
Yeah.
In the book, Muldoon lives. Jeff Goldblum dies.
No,
Which
Totally
the
true.
book is garbage. Burn the
And
book.
so
is
then
much better.
Look,
then-
I ain't get a dog in the film fight, but the book's garbage.
No, all right, we're fighting
What?
the book now.
Michael
What?
Crichton is a shit.
get out of here. Get out of here. Book's great.
Did you read the Lost World where he?
Oh, well, that's
brought back
trash.
where he brought back Jeff Goldblum's
Yes.
character.
Oh no,
instead.
no. Look, Jurassic
he
Park
didn't die.
phenomenal. Lost World trash because he has
Bad,
to bring
real
back
bad.
Jeff Goldblum because he was so successful in the movie. It makes no sense. Look.
Every Michael Crichton book has the one scene where one character says to another character, "I haven't heard of current science fiction concept we're using. Could you perhaps explain that?" Then the other character goes,
how
"I'm
dare
glad
you.
asked," and
How
pulls
dare
the
you.
chart down, and then goes on about it for like 6 pages with diagrams.
Next thing you know, you're gonna say Dan Brown's awful. How dare you? Those are writing legends, sir. I'll have you
Oh.
know, legends.
For every
They're
for
modern day Shakespeare.
any of the Jurassic Park plot to work, every character in it has to be phenomenally stupid.
This is what
And
Ebert
that
used
is a
to call
problem.
an idiot plot.
Yes. And it's one of the movies that is just so incredibly obvious and in your face about that. It's like every single thing you are doing is a logical, stupid, and the worst thing you could do in this situation.
Well, in fairness,
Just
there has
stop
to be
it.
some adversity. There wouldn't be a drama if people didn't do stupid things now and then.
Which
That's
is
true.
fair. But when
I mean,
they do it
so
all
much
the
If
time...
I was being
Movie.
chased by dinosaurs, I'd do some really stupid shit.
Imagine
The
a Friday the
problem
13th
is-
movie where every single, highly sexed co-ed does the right thing in every situation. You
True.
wouldn't
Yeah,
want-
but then who's gonna go check on the basement, please?
it'd be like
There
playing
could
a round
be
of
people down there.
By the
Like
end of
playing
it,
a
I
round
was
of Friday the
rooting
13th
for the
again.
Tyrannosaurus Rex because I
And he
hated
wins in
everybody
the
on
end.
screen.
That's the whole point of the movie. He comes
Yeah.
and saves them, just like at the end of Jurassic World.
That was
the T-Rex
stupid.
and the raptor.
What?
That was
Not
the
everybody
stupidest
has
thing in the
watched
world.
that. Come on.
You haven't
Don't
seen
spoil-
it yet?
Yes, I've seen it. I'm saying don't spoil it for the
I'm
people
not
who
going to
haven't.
spoil
It's
anything except
it
the
only came out
friendship
last
between
year.
a raptor and a T-Rex is what
Yes.
binds that movie together. And they have a fucking conversation. TB, a raptor and a T-Rex have a conversation. It's like
It was the
"Roar,
stupidest
roar,
thing.
roar," and the T-Rex is like roar, and he's like, "I love you, friend." They subtitle it. Internet subtitle that shit.
Still
Find
a
the
better
clip.
relationship than
subtitle
any
it.
relationship of any of the characters in the original Jurassic Park.
Oh,
Roar.
speaking of movies that are
This is the 4th of
absolutely
July.
great, and we
I
all
expressed
agree.
my opinion. My freedom.
Went to see Baby Driver. Baby Driver
I
is
have
a
heard
fantastic
lots of
movie.
good things about that.
That
It's the
movie,
new Edgar Wright film, isn't it?
yeah, I honestly didn't have super high hopes for it, and I don't know why. And then I went to see it, and it's fantastic.
That's because the trailer for that movie is a garbage trailer.
It's not a good trailer. Yeah.
No, it doesn't make
Um,
it look like it's a movie you want to see, but everyone's like, this movie's great.
Yeah. It's really, really awesome use of music. Like the sound design in that movie is fantastic, which you would expect from Edgar Wright,
Yeah.
but like really, really good.
Cool. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's on the list of things that I want to see. It's acclaimed as hell. I still
Mhm.
haven't got around to seeing the new movie on Netflix whose name I can't pronounce by the South Korean director with the giant pig hippo thing.
What?
First
Was it
I've heard of this.
Ogsha or something like that.
I don't know what that is.
How do you know? All right. How do
Look,
you
every
spell
time I log into Netflix, it's like, have you watched Glow yet?
you one
That's
You
the
should.
watch
Have
Glow.
you watched it?
I
You
watched
should.
3 episodes of it, and it's great.
So
Keep
good.
watching Glow. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I think they pronounce it Oksha or Oksha, and there's some giant sort of hippo pig thing in it.
Well, I'm on board.
Yes.
Oh my
If-
God.
If the mainstream movie is just going to remake films from the 90s and make superhero films, then fine. Let's watch a giant pig film from Korea.
Yo,
Yeah.
if you, speaking of movies and video games,
Uh-huh.
if
Oh, yeah,
you,
wasn't this a video
uh,
game podcast at some point?
I mean,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was
it-
at one point, yes.
We're
Then
working our way there.
Video games got bad, so we stopped bothering with them.
if you have
Uh,
access to any sort of HBO on-demand service, they on there now have the Slender Man documentary about those 2 girls
I need
who
to watch
stabbed their
that.
friends out in the woods. Holy shit, is it crazy? Like,
I mean, yes.
you
with that,
really it's
concept.
not about like Slender Man like explaining what they have to do that, but that's like not the point. The point of the thing is that these 2 girls bought into the mythos of an entirely fake made up thing because I won't even just like go watch it, and by the time you're done you'll be like, what the fuck?
I
It's
wonder if it's
crazy.
just a case of just ironically buying into the mythos and then it sort of gradually turning around to not ironically.
Like
Like,
when
how
they
Brady
interview them,
Well,
when they pull them into the
The
police
Hamza
interrogation, they
more than
interview
I'd
them.
like to
The
admit.
things they say in interrogation are just like, God damn, the internet affects little kids
Yes.
crazy. Like they believe
Yeah.
everything they read, and it's nuts. You're just like, I can't believe this happened. Like it is too much. You have to watch it. It's
Mm.
great. It's mind blowing.
I mean, you just need to look at VidCon this year as to what the internet does to, preteen and like tween people. It's like you've turned these people into rabid cultists who you are exploiting for money and manipulating emotionally.
Yeah.
You are awful. Like, VidCon is a temple to the malignancy of the worst parts of fandom.
Honestly, the thing that I took away from VidCon news this year was we have a lot of people who desperately want to be famous to the point of just being absolute fucklords, like
Well,
the
yeah.
worst
well,
people.
that's always been the case. There was a TV
But,
show
like-
in the UK called The Word, where they had a segment
yeah.
called "I'll Do Anything to Appear on Television,"
Yeah, I remember that.
and there was.
But like, sorry,
Well, I just wanted to give an example of they had this lady come on who said to the camera, "I'm desperate to appear on television," and then she inserted her fingers into between the belly rolls of an enormously fat man and jiggled them about and then pulled them back out, and then they were all damp with something or other, and then put them in her mouth. And did that
So-
to camera really, really languorously.
Going back to VidCon really quick.
Yeah.
I was
Um,
going to say, Dodger does have a point to make on this one.
Yeah, go for it.
all I was gonna say is that we've now had enough time with people who are like, I'm famous on Instagram, I'm famous on YouTube, I'm famous on Twitch, that we now have a next generation of people who really want that,
Yes.
who like want to be that, to the point that even with just a little bit of it, they'll start acting kind of crazy, right?
Yes.
And it's really bizarre seeing the way that people behave at
So-
VidCon, being like, I'm a big fucking deal, okay? And you're all garbage. And it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
like,
if
those
if
are-
you I know, like, everyone, of course, already knows the example of that one guy on the video that got caught, and he's like, I'm important, you're ugly, and I'm rich, like that kid, right?
Right.
Don't just go watch that 2-minute video. Go find the 8-minute video and go see the shocking parts of it, which are not that guy. That guy's a spoiled ass. The rest of it, though, if you watch the other 8 minutes, is hundreds, if not 1,000 kids, all with their phones out, all trying to film the exact same incident. And then when this kid starts doing things, they start filming him too. And then doing their own reaction videos to it all on the spot during this 8 minutes. Then after it settles down, it's kids running around to go see what footage every other kid got to see who has the best footage. Like, it is bonkers. And it's disgusting. It's super disgusting to watch. It's terrible. That's where we're at.
Yeah, it comes down to the fact that the people that are acting this way because those that they idolize and those that are in positions of power over them and in positions of responsibility are not being at all responsible with it. Like, it is constantly happening.
Well, some of them are. There's always some content creators who are fantastic and
I'm not saying every content
stuff.
creator that goes to VidCon is an awful person. That's completely not the case.
Yeah, I think it's just
those aren't
people
the
who
people
are pretty
we're
much
talking about.
only famous for being an Instagram person.
Well, even if they're famous for like making something really cool, the way that they interact with their fan base, right? TB is what you're saying. Like,
it's extremely important if you have any sort of fan base of any kind to realize the power that you have. And that puts you in a position of responsibility. And you might say, oh, well, I didn't want this. Tough shit. Like, if you don't want it, stop making things on the internet that, actually is driving this fandom. Treat your fans with a degree of, frankly, I mean, in my case, a degree of fear. I am scared every day. I am scared of the potential influence that I could have over a vulnerable individual in my fan base. Like, and because I've seen what happens when people do that. And unfortunately, there are far too many creators who don't care about that and see that vulnerability as an opportunity to profit or to basically build this incredibly unhealthy cult of personality.
Well, we also have to look at the truth that the vast majority of internet celebrities are not only young, but this is like their first job, really.
Yeah.
And so they don't have any of those skills of acknowledging what's right or what's wrong. They still have a lot of growing up to do in life in general. Like, it's a weird place. It's a bunch of young. I know Justin Bieber's kind of grown up now, but rewind a little bit to when he was insane person. That's what all these kids are. And there's just a lot of them, a lot of young Biebers who think they're hot shit. And, it's true. The guy in the video is like, I have 27,000 followers. I'm important. You're ugly. Like, that's just a person who is full of himself because he doesn't know any better. Like, he's young and stupid.
It's when you get too much money too fast.
Yeah.
It's the old child actor grown up situation again.
Yeah.
But skipping the part where they're actually in something good.
I just wonder if people acting this way is going to be the major thing that makes the platform sort of implode.
It already is. I mean, the shit that happened at VidCon with the guy who hid a bunch of money, basically caused a stampede, was eventually tackled by security, basically put a bunch of kids in danger of pulling the next fucking Hillsborough disaster, all to make his stupid ass fucking video. Like, that is a person who is putting people's lives at risk for fucking money.
Yeah.
And he is by far not the only person who pulls this irresponsible shit. Like, a week never seems to go by without hearing about some YouTuber or streamer who's done some awful fucking thing and somehow gotten away with it. And, of course, advertisers saying, hey, we actually don't want to advertise on that shit now. And if you think that's not going to happen to Twitch, you are delusional. Like,
especially with IRL. I think IRL, as much as I love that IRL exists so that I can actually use a category that makes sense. I think that IRL is going to be the thing that like tips it to a really weird place.
Yeah, there's already some IRL streamers that
anything they want
banned. And basically are now streaming on YouTube because for some reason with streams, YouTube doesn't seem to give a shit, although they're very worried about VODs, which is sort of the opposite way to the way that Twitch approaches it. And yeah, because they did criminal, awful shit. They went and harassed people with, camera rigs and shit, and did it solely to drive donations from their stupid fans. And that is terrible. It's indefensible, frankly. And there's a bunch of just irresponsible, awful shit that happens on Twitch as well. And like I said, VidCon to me is like a temple to that. And I'm hoping TwitchCon doesn't become that. But if it keeps going the way that VidCon is, I'm sure it will. It's scary. It really is scary. It's cult-like behavior by people who are exploiting vulnerable people.
I think the media, broadly speaking, has to take some responsibility for that kind of thing. I mean, in the broadest sense, like giving the most attention to the most outrageous things.
Yes.
You've got something to talk about on your 24-hour news channel.
Yeah,
I mean, some might argue the current political situation is partly because of that, but let's not ruffle feathers.
If you like this is probably going to be a terrible thing to say, but if you step back from all of this and not look at it morally, it's actually fucking fascinating. Like the way like the social structure of like
decades.
Yeah, like the way that YouTube has like trickled and like changed. It's interesting. It's fascinating. I'm not a bad person, I swear, but it's like it's like fascinating to be like, whoa, there are a bunch of people getting corrupted by this weird thing. Like nobody would have seen that coming. It's interesting. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm totally mildly terrifying. I'd recommend go and watch everything that Bo Burnham has done, especially when he talks about fandom and parasocial relationships.
Dude, Bo Burnham stuff is so on point always. And depressing. It's like you laugh and then you're really sad.
Like, oh God. Yeah, this is actually true. Well, now that we're very sad, should we talk about video games?
Oh, yeah.
We could do that. Yahtzee's been here for 30 minutes and wondering why, and I don't blame him. Welcome back to the show, incidentally. Pleasure to have you back. Now, in the United States on a permanent basis.
Oh, yes.
Escape to the colonies, as it were.
Assuming the clamp down on migrants doesn't extend to white people.
Which, as far as we are currently aware, it does not. Only.
I feel like you'll be okay.
Only female Afghan robotics teams. Yeah. Only that.
Everybody else is good.
I've got to stop now. All right, let's talk about what we've been playing this week. Who wants to toss a game in the ring?
I can talk about the Darkest Dungeon Crimson Court stuff.
Court DLC? Yeah, by all means.
Dude, I am so into it.
Yeah.
People keep asking if they've never played the game before, if they should start playing with the DLC active, and I don't think that they should.
Why is that?
It's a DLC that absolutely incorporates itself into the whole game, and it does things that the Darkest Dungeon does, where like when you go into the Darkest Dungeon, you can't see the map, right? Like you can't see all of the different places that you can go. You have no idea if there's going to be a boss in there sometimes with the courtyard. So it really is a DLC that adds a level of difficulty. Yeah. There's permanent. There's like a permanent aspect that can get attached to your characters. And the monsters, the new monsters that exist in the courtyard can infiltrate all of the other areas.
Oh, they can actually get into the other dungeons and pop up when you least expect
it. The whole like idea of the courtyard is that it has bloodsuckers, right?
Yes.
And you might immediately think like, oh, it's a vampire DLC. But for the most part, they're all weird, like human insectoids
things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nasty designs. Like, I mean, some of the stuff in Darkest Dungeon looks pretty disgusting in and of itself. I think they've really outdone it this time.
Yeah. So what happens is like you can go into the courtyard and you'll realize immediately like, oh shit, this is like the Darkest Dungeon. You don't know where you have to go. You don't know what you're looking for necessarily. Your characters can get afflicted with what is called the Crimson Curse. And the Crimson Curse will show up under diseases, but there's no way for you to cure that disease that is immediately apparent. The Crimson Curse is essentially vampirism.
Yeah.
So if somebody is affected by the Crimson Curse, they're going to hit a point where they crave blood and they need it. And you'll notice that as you're doing all of the different dungeons and excavations and whatever, you will bring blood back with you. So then the people who are afflicted will have blood to drink. But because you don't immediately know how to get rid of it, people just continue to get afflicted, right? So it goes from, oh, I mean, I have 20 blood and only one person with the curse, I'm good. It becomes, all 20 of my people have the curse and I only have this much blood. Like, what the fuck am I going to do? So it adds a layer of difficulty for sure. And I think that if you haven't played the game before, they make it really easy. When you create a game, there's like a little yellow button that's next to, if you have the DLC active, there's a little yellow button and you can click that and you can activate 3 different things. The Flagellant, which is the new class.
Not the Flatulent, by the way.
Not the Flatulent, the Flagellant.
The
farts! The farts!
Blight the
Yeah,
ghasts.
He blights people.
Indeed.
And then the districts, which is like new extra buildings that
Kind
you
of
can
mega
have.
buildings, yeah.
And then the actual like Crimson Court DLC. So if you wanted to, you could play it with like just the Flagellant activated, but you can deactivate all of that stuff until you really understand how to play the game, which I think most people agree it takes a while to really understand how to play the game well.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say the DLC is fantastic. If you already love the game, like absolutely play the DLC. It's so good. But if you've never played the game before, I think you'll feel a little bit overwhelmed. There will be like too much to juggle, you know?
Well, here's a question. I played the original Darkest Dungeon a bit back in the day, but it didn't quite grab me. Do you think the DLC would make it fully grabbable now?
What didn't grab you about it?
Yeah, what didn't you like?
It's been a while now. I guess I wasn't really that into the turn-based combat approach.
Yeah, I don't think that this really fixes that. I think like the enjoyment of Darkest Dungeon's almost pretty much reliant on that basic core combat loop being satisfying for you.
Yeah.
What got me about it, which they then fixed with the Radiant mode difficulty, which they put in later for free, was this is dragging on too long. This is a slog. So they try to keep the difficulty pretty much about the same and reduce the slog. Which
the Radiant mode is my favorite thing that they've done recently.
Yeah.
You get more gold and rewards just overall, which allows you to upgrade things and give people like better weapons and things faster. You're able to take higher level dudes into beginner dungeons, so you don't hit this point where it's like, well, fuck, you know, I need to level up these other smaller dudes, but nobody else will go with them, you know, like it allows
broke,
you to,
but I need to do a money run, but I don't have people to do the run, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Fuck's sake. You know, a lot of like retreading your steps if you end up losing people and all that kind of thing. They did reduce that, but I don't think it's possible to enjoy Darkest Dungeon if you don't find that turn-based combat to be compelling in some way.
Yeah.
I just don't think it could be done.
Well, I've enjoyed turn-based combat in the past. Very fond of the Paper Mario games, at least the first 3. It's just
did you feel like it wasn't fair?
No, it's not that. I guess I needed more of a story. I guess there's much more of the focus on the the exploring the random dungeons and building
I'm with you on that.
Stuff.
The stress of getting your ass kicked would have been balanced if it had like a really cool story. I would have put up with the constant death more if I was like, there's a payoff to this and not just victory. Like
you're sort of taking a balance when you're talking about sort of the random prog gen game and a story. It's hard to bring the two together.
Like TB's right. There's a story, but like I wish there was more, is what I'm saying.
Right.
I just wish it was more story driven than just like creepiness in haunted house.
I think it's cool. Like every time you fight a boss, you get a little bit of lore about how fucked up your ancestor was. Like this ancestor that Wayne June, sweet Wayne June. Sorry, you're our fucked up ancestor. He like, you know, writes you a letter basically being like, you need to come back and fix all of this shit that I did. And with every boss, you find out more lore about like who these people are and like how all of this happened. And I thought that was cool. But I also really, really enjoy the aspect of the game that is, you know, like the turn-based, like managing stress, managing
As do I.
you know, the best way to fight specific enemies and all that. Like learning that and getting better at that is really satisfying for me.
Yeah,
So-
that's sort of how I treat XCOM as well, and I think in that respect, the fighting and the constant risk of permadeath and losing a character creates what I like to call war stories. And
Yes.
you end up having this really cool story at the end of a session of people who you've probably named like after your friends or subscribers or whatever, and the crazy shit that they pulled off is like, there was a desperate situation, but this guy just pulled off a 10% incredibly lucky shot, crit, headshot this guy, saved everybody, and all, or it going horribly wrong, which it more often than not does.
I think it's very important that they give all the soldiers individual names and looks for that as well. 'Cause
Yeah,
then
you know,
they start to gain reputations. You start getting attached to them more than you would a lot of like pre-written characters in a lot of story-based games.
That's something that's the upcoming XCOM 2 expansion. They've put basically friendships in the game where the
cool.
characters will start to build a bond, kind of like Fire Emblem.
If like they've gone out on multiple missions together.
Yeah, they'll be
interesting.
Yeah,
I was
which
thinking
I think is
Jagged
great.
Alliance when you said that.
Yeah, that too. Oh, fuck, I'd love a good new Jagged Alliance game. Several companies who were not the original devs said, hey, we're going to do a Jagged Alliance. Like, this is terrible. This is just, please stop. Just make a good one. Is it that hard? Apparently, it's that hard. But yeah, you are right. And I think Darkest Dungeon's got that. I would like to see more visual customization for the characters. I know you can download a lot of mods to do that, but
You can. They're all just like color swaps mostly, but yeah.
It sounds superficial, but it really is important for getting an attachment to characters that you can choose their appearance and things.
Yeah, I think so. And that's kind of what I love about video games. Like a predefined story that someone else wrote is not as interesting to me as a story that I wrote using the tools that you made for me. And Darkest Dungeon gives me enough of that to compel me to keep playing. And the RNG and the bad things happening to you, to me, is enjoyable rather than being annoying. Whereas for a lot of people, it is annoying. It's like, oh, this is RNG bullshit.
I do think the RNG is in your favor in that game.
If you play it properly, yeah.
Yeah, I think
a lot of people are not doing that.
That's the thing is there. I watch people sometimes who will complain a lot about it, and I think that once you realize like, oh, if I choose an ability and I hover over a monster, I can see the percentage to hit, I can see the percentage to crit, I can see like, you know, if you start to take in all of that information and realize that your accuracy on a character really does affect stuff, that like certain abilities will hit better depending on like which row you're highlighting, like that sort of stuff, and getting rid of learning more about the enemies too, learning more about the monsters and knowing which ones you need to take out like immediately in order to have a better chance, like things that could potentially mark you or stress you out.
I heard a story that the XCOM developers have to slightly lie about the percentage chances of the things you can do in that game.
Really?
Because if like you have like a genuine 75% chance to hit, like they found a lot of users complained that they didn't actually have that chance, that they kept failing.
I mean, that's
one in four is like quite high.
That's a bias though. Like it's a mental bias. It was the same thing with XCOM, where people ask, "Oh, are these percentages bullshit?" Because that was a 95% chance to hit, and I missed. Yeah, but it was also a 5% chance that you were going to miss, and your brain remembers the misses more than it does every time that did work properly. There's some interesting stuff about it, because it's basically the gambler's fallacy in many ways. You're seeing patterns where there are no patterns and things like that. As far as I'm aware, they don't bullshit the percentages in that game. I haven't heard of any, and I'm assuming people would have probably found that out by now if they did.
But if it's a 1 in 4 chance and I do it 4 times, then one of those times it has to happen, right? That's how probability works, right? Like if it's a 25% chance that I'll do it, then it's for sure, right?
Yeah.
Well, it was just a rumor. I won't stake my reputation on it being true, but it wouldn't surprise me either.
It is an interesting idea that some devs may manipulate perception of the player in order to generate a better experience for the player. There was I think I read, may have even actually been about Mario or some other very classic platformer, and the developer was talking about how they bullshitted the platform jumping hit detection because if they actually made it work the way that it should, then people would complain that it didn't work properly because it didn't look or feel like what they imagined their jump was going to be. So they gave them a little bit of leeway. And in doing that, they made the player feedback a lot more satisfying.
Yeah, I'm assuming that would be something like when you're jumping off a ledge and you press jump a bit too late and you just run off.
Yeah.
That
They give you just a little bit of tolerance to that.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that, then you actually end up with people say, well, this is a bad platform. This doesn't work the way it's supposed to. Because the brain doesn't... the brain sees what it wants to see more often than not, what is actually happening.
Well, I've had that feeling. Thank you. I've had that feeling recently because I've been playing the Crash Bandicoot Insane trilogy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my god.
On PS4. Because Crash Bandicoot was the first game I played on PS1. I got a bit of nostalgia. I 100%ed it in the day. So I got some nostalgia for it. But I guess this might be the nostalgia talking, but I swear the landing on the narrow platforms physics is fucking me about a little bit.
Doesn't surprise me. This was the similar kind of thing that was pulled up when Yooka-Laylee came out. When they're like, oh, well, Banjo-Kazooie was amazing and the best platformer. And then you would go back and play. It's like, there are actually a lot of problems with this. And what my brain said it was going to be. We actually ended up having this discussion last week about the nostalgia effect. We were talking with Mike Bithell about it. And what you think these classic games were back then, versus what they actually were. And when people ask, I want stuff that was like back in the day. It's like, well, you've got to be 10 again, kind of, and not have 20 years of gaming experience in order for that to happen, because actually those games were heavily flawed.
Yeah, because with the Crash Bandicoot, I've been playing the first one again. And you know those little flaming platforms that do the intermittent flame? And they're about just like one character width wide. And if you do a particularly long jump onto it, I always sort of fudge it on the landing. And I swear the character nudges their feet on the platform and then shifts 1 foot backwards and drops straight down.
That is the opposite of what it should be.
I know, right?
Well, I've been reading a lot of, I'm not going to say articles, I'm going to say angry posts that are in place of articles that are basically...
There's no difference these days.
Yeah, basically talking about how hard it is, and it makes me laugh that it's like, that's what games were, though.
Yeah.
Like, nothing changed about it. It's just it's the same damn game. I don't understand. People are just like, it's like the Dark Souls of platformers. Like, no, stop. First off, stop it. Time out.
It's like when people complain that Cadbury's cream eggs have gotten smaller. No, it's just your hands have gotten bigger.
Wagon wheels did get smaller, though. They have. Wagon wheels are smaller. Guarantee it. Bought some recently. Absolutely 100%. They were bigger than that.
All right.
It's a conspiracy. I know it. It's true. I'm sure I can find some proof of it somewhere.
Yeah, it's always interesting because people don't seem to realize that video games have advanced not just in terms of graphics, but also in terms of like matching up with us and how we want to play them, how our brains work, right? Like platformers make so much more sense now. And you can absolutely tell the difference between a platformer that's fully synced up with like when your brain tells you to jump versus one that doesn't, right? They feel more fluid. So playing one from a long time ago, obviously, that sort of stuff wasn't as much of a science and it wasn't as specific, so it's going to feel a lot harder because now we have games where you're like, God, this feels great to play.
I think when you're a kid as well, you got this sort of natural loyalty instinct where you think that if you're doing badly at a game, you just think, you're just not meeting the game's expectations.
Right.
I think as easily frustrated as you do in this day and age when there's so much competition for your eyeballs.
Also, the clear and important truth that as you get older, you get shittier at gaming. Let's not beat around that bush. That's a fact.
Is absolutely
That's
true.
A fact.
I guess we've got a lot of other things to worry about in our adult life.
Yeah. It also comes down to the fact that, as a kid, you got a game. It might be the only game that you get in a month. I'm like, I am going to play the shit out of this. I don't have an option. Whereas these days, like, this game is pissing me off. I have absolutely no reason to continue to waste my fucking time
There's a
with it.
Steam summer sale. I bought 50 games for $5.
Yeah,
I don't need to play this anymore.
exactly. Toss it away. Like
Yeah.
that stuff sort of become more disposable as you get older. And like you said, there is a lot more competition for your eyeballs and for your play. So no, if something isn't doing something well, there's probably something else that does that better. So go play that. At the time, that was not true, of course. Probably also doesn't help that Crash runs at 30 frames, if I recall correctly, even the remaster. So
Probably.
I believe it
That's
does.
That's probably part of the problem.
Yeah.
Slightly less responsiveness on the controls.
Yeah, input delay and all that sort of thing, which
But yeah,
is unhelpful.
from what I've been playing, it's pretty much just a one-to-one remake of the first Crash Bandicoot from what I've played so far, except with HD graphics, obviously.
Mhm.
There's one change that jumped out at me. Was that in the intro sequence, after the main character Crash Bandicoot escapes from a lab, and the main villain says, "Prepare the female Bandicoot." And in the original, you just see guards encroaching upon Crash's girlfriend Bandicoot. But in the remake, they show her punching out one of the guards and then getting overpowered by the others.
Huh.
I don't know if this sort
That's
of
an
like attempt to
odd
move
change.
with the times when you're doing your rescue the princess plot.
Right.
Yeah.
They're trying to sort of excuse a bit that they have made the female Bandicoot really weirdly human in its sexual characteristics.
That reminds me of what Crystal in Star Fox is like. This is bordering on furry erotica at this point.
Or whatever her name was in Conker's girlfriend, whatever the hell her name was.
Well, that's
Like everyone else is a cute
excusable.
little animal, and she's an oversexed like squirrel girl, and you're like, wait a minute.
Well, that
know.
was deliberately going for the.
Yeah, I was gonna say
sure.
Conker's Bad Fur Day was not a kid's game. Like,
Well,
Right, but it's the exact same idea. Although there was a sex plant, so I mean that's a thing too. That was
Yeah,
way
I
hotter.
remember
That plant was much hotter. Let's be real. I'd bang
That's
that plant.
bag.
Is what I'm saying.
Well, naturally.
not a game
Pollinate.
I really have a desire to play. I mean, I never liked platformers at the best of times. I definitely don't want to go back and play something like that. 3D platformers, just like I'm trying to remember
Yeah.
one that I liked, and I coming up short. I can't think of one.
There are very few good 3D platformers because platforming in 3D never really made the translation terribly well.
No, it did not.
So just
Not that
adding
it
the,
stopped the fucking PS1 from trying. Ugh.
well, Crash Bandicoot was a mostly 2D platformer, or in that you only really move along a 2D plane.
Mhm.
It's just all in 3D graphics. Or
Yeah.
There's a bit of going in and out here and there, but for the most part, the levels are designed around moving on one plane. Sort of like New Super Mario Brothers U, I think it was, or Super Mario 3D World on the Wii U.
Yeah.
Yes,
So-
that one.
Sort of
Which
like
was-
an
which was-
old prototype of the
Weird-
2.5D that we now kind of get.
Yeah, exactly. Because Mario 64, of course, was full 3D, and that hasn't aged well at all.
No, it hasn't. It's a
I
bit
remember
chunky.
liking Mario Sunshine more, but again, that might be a nostalgia thing.
I don't think it is. I mean, weirdly enough, over the last year or so, I've been hearing a lot about Mario Sunshine for whatever reason. I remember it coming out around the time and people just dismissing it. And these days, people are like, that game was incredible. Like, can we play it on the Switch? Can we have a new one of those? Like, whoa, where did that come from? Was it just an underappreciation at the time for that? I think that might be the case.
Interesting.
I don't know. Maybe people just saw the GameCube as a bit of a whipping boy at the time.
It is possible. What
Maybe
else is-
people were angry because it came out with Luigi's Mansion, and then the Mario came out a while later.
Yeah, that might be it. Hey, what else has everybody else been playing this week? Who wants to toss another one in the ring?
Yo, I got one I'll talk about really quick because we talked about it before, and another one that actually we probably talked about this too. Anyway, I have two. First one, Final Fantasy 14. Oh my god, actually I have a lot to talk about. Final Fantasy
Stormblood,
14, I'm gonna get real simple with this.
All right.
God bless everyone who loves this game and thinks it's amazing. I'm gonna say it again.
Are we
The
going to get a
story-
fight here between you and Dodger? Because I know Dodger's been
No,
playing
no
the
No,
fights.
it's fine.
No fights.
Okay,
The
all right.
story
Because that's
is-
less fun. Can we have a fight, please?
The story is great. I am still stuck trying to get to Heavensward stuff because the content of I can't tell you how many times I've gone to a zone and had to run back and forth between 2 points over and over and over again to complete a quest. There's nothing to do. Just go talk to a person and then run back. It is terrible game design. Literally embarrassingly bad. The leveling up
That's old
is
school WoW bullshit.
unfathomably annoying. With that said, everyone's telling me, and I'm going to stick with it, I don't have a final word on this. Everyone's saying Heavensward and the new expansion are like infinitely better and so much cooler. So I'm going to stick with it. And I'm going to let you know if it ain't better, I'm going to go. Look, I know where the Square Enix offices here are in LA. I'm going to burn those motherfuckers down. I want everyone to be aware. I will come to there and just be like, yeah. All right.
I
With that all
suppose
said,
just
though,
buy the token that lets you skip all that shit and start.
I don't want to
Stormblood
skip it though
immediately.
because there's a story and it's like a really good story. So I want to see it all.
Mhm. It's like
But,
using the
watched it on
Watch in
YouTube.
Mario 3.
Yeah, I want to experience the story. They got like evil mask face and the judges from Final Fantasy 12 are in there.
The
Look,
Asians.
it's crazy.
I don't know anything about it, but I'm going to assume the story is teenagers fight God.
Evil Empire first. There might be God at some point,
Evil Empire,
but Evil
then God.
Empire right now is
Excuse
the
me,
case.
yes.
I will say though, I finally played both the DLC for Final Fantasy 15. What a crazy ride those are. They're two totally different playstyles. So Final Fantasy 15 is an RPG, right? Okay. Final Fantasy 15 Gladio episode is essentially a very, 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 very light version of Dark Souls. So you're straight up like playing as a dude with a sword and you're dodging, you're blocking, you're rolling, and you're doing the whole, like the enemies hit really hard. You have to fight these bosses. You have to charge. It's great. It's super fun. Eventually there's a boss fight it's an optional boss fight that's like made me want to rip my eyes out against Matt Mercer. So you can hear Matt Mercer just yell at you the entire time, which is pretty fun, but eventually you have to tweet at Matt Mercer, you suck, Matt Mercer. It's fun. But it's like an hour long. So I don't know if it's worth the $4.99. Maybe if like you can justify it, but $5 for an hour is not the best deal for a DLC.
Not really.
Yeah, I don't know.
DLC is generally not great price performance content wise, but that is, I don't know if I'd pay $5 for an hour,
Right.
Unless it was a very good hour.
However, the Prompto DLC, and just for people who are curious what the DLCs are, at certain points in the game, the main characters disappear. They're like, I'm going to go handle something, or something happens to them where they're gone. This DLC is the what happened to those characters bits. And so the Prompto story is when he's knocked off a train and like missing from the party for a while. This is his story. And it is basically Metal Gear. It's a Metal Gear Solid game where we have to sneak around and you have to like knock out guards and you get in like gunfights. And so there's actual like gun mechanics. They're all pretty jank because it's still an RPG and it's sort of like they modded the RPG, but it's fun. It's really fun and it gives you a lot of interesting story bits. You get to hang out with Aranea, who's this badass dragoon chick from the main game, and I love it. I love the DLC. Again, I will simply say I still don't think they're worth the price. I love them and I will pay it because I'm on the internet and I can do that shit. But like, I don't know that that I would recommend it to people. But if you're down for the story and you need to see what happens, it's like a must buy. It's two totally different things. The next one is Igni, and he's the chef. So fingers crossed, it's just like a cooking mama thing.
God, that would be amazing.
That'd be amazing. And he's like, "That's it, cooking mama." I'd be so happy if that's all it was. But
I would kind of play the fuck out of that, I have to admit.
and
Yeah,
then
I
they-
would play that.
And then they released the Chapter 13-2 in a bit that I haven't played that yet, so I got to get on that too. I'm enjoying the hell out of it. It's crazy to me that 15 still has a life that's chugging along for a game that admittedly was rushed. They're actually producing content for it still to kind of make up for that. So,
Yeah.
Well,
all right, I'm down.
DLC that's story knocked out from the middle of the plot, I guess, is better than DLC that's just the end of the plot chopped off for an extra $5.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
thanks for that, fucking Azura's Wrath. Buy the DLC for the proper ending. Fuck you, Capcom.
And what a
Unbelievable.
crappy thing to do with a great game. Like, what a great game that had no
Yeah.
ending. It's infuriating.
It really is.
And then the other thing I did play that it's something we've all played, but I should bring up because it's actually released now or will be in a few days. Antihero is
Antihero,
out.
yes.
It is.
It's
I
no,
think
it's not out.
July 10th, I think it comes out. I
Yes.
think.
Why would you
Yeah.
do that?
I'm sorry. I got a copy of it and played the shit out of it this past week. Yeah, basically you are in ye old England and you are a gang, and the whole
In our
premise,
Town, as it
yeah,
turns out.
is you take over orphanages and churches and,
Yep.
and all these different things as you
Orphans
try to
are
build
a
up your gang.
usable
Yeah.
unit in this game. It's great.
It is, yeah. You control orphans, and the orphans take over stuff. I really liked the tutorial system. Really showed me shit that I was not aware. Like, and we played this game before at conventions.
We played it.
Like,
At
I thought I
PAX
kind
a
of
year
knew.
ago.
Yeah. But the tutorial showed me things that I was like, whoa. There's one of the places, if you take over an orphanage, and you put 3 orphans in the orphanage. Now the orphans can then go beat up other orphans and take things from them. So you don't need a gang to do it. So now you can just send kids to go beat up other kids. I was like,
Yes.
game. And then because and this was something that we hadn't played with before, they now have a guy who goes around and like I'm trying to think of a truant officer. He goes around and he can snatch up every orphan in a building if it's not protected. So he can come in and just grab them. So you literally wipe out a building just by. They have assassins that look like Evie from Assassin's Creed. So she's like, they can like one-shot dudes, and it's great. It's such a cool game. I'm so happy that they've made like so many changes and like really stepped it up with this one. The tactics in it are on point. It's a real good tactical game.
How many people can play in a game at a time? 4?
I thought it was just a 1v1.
Yeah, I thought
Is
it was
it? I thought it was
There's a
more than
story
that.
mode, but I think it's just 1v1.
Yeah,
Although it could be
it's
more.
basically a digital board game for all intents and purposes.
Right.
Yeah, and then the way they have it now, where they keep adding. So as you go through the story, they keep adding things that you can upgrade, and so you can eventually make it so your main character can have like a 3 damage, or you can upgrade your brutes and have them like around the city and have them with more life. And there's a lot to this game, and I think what makes me very, very happy is most of the time when I play a game at a convention or whatever, you see it and you kind of get the idea of like, okay, this is what this is. Over time, the more I've seen this game, the more I've realized like, holy shit, they weren't showing us very much of this game at all. There's like a lot more to it,
Right.
and that excites me. So I'm down with that. I love when I find out things. I'm like, holy shit, I didn't even know you could do this. There's
A lot more depth.
Yeah, the
It
way
sort
you
of
can build it-
gradually reveals itself, which is good.
Yeah, and so when you make gangs, which are basically I'm trying to think of what the character's name is from Gangs of New York. I wish I could remember his, like the guy with the mustache in the gang.
Butcher.
Yes, that's what it looks like. And so it's him, and then you sort of fill your gangs with these ruffians you can buy, and they join the gang, and that's how you increase the life. But the more you attack and you do stuff with it, you get the option of either you can make it so your gang gets more money when they attack, or does more damage when they attack, or can kick out more kids of buildings when they like boot kids. But like the way you do that, you think it's going to have some major effect on gameplay. Like, yeah, all my guys are just going to get money. They're going to be super rich, but then they're super weak. Or so you have to be real smart about how you level these guys and how many people you put in, because eventually assassins will be on the field and they can just straight up like one-shot them and kill an entire gang. You're like, oh, I upgraded this awesome gang and now they're instantly dead because that guy just had 6 coins that he could use to kill me. So there's like all sorts of strategy you have to have. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Yep, it really is. It's nice to see something like that. The art style is lovely. It's easy to get into, but obviously a lot of depth mechanically. And I've been playing a lot of stuff that's like digital board games as of late, and regular board games. So
Yeah.
to have one that's sort of designed with that in mind, we've played a few. It's sort of I don't know if you call it an emerging genre, but it's interesting that we're seeing the idea of a board game, the kind of things you traditionally see in a board game, and then saying, well, one of the problems with board games is learning the rules and tracking all of the clunk. And if you overcomplicate a board game, you make that unenjoyable. But there's a lot of stuff you can do under the hood. What was interesting, it was quite a while ago, there's a Kickstarter I backed, which is one of the most disappointing Kickstarters I've ever backed. It was called Golem Arcana. And it's by Harebrained, who made the Shadowrun games and are currently making Battletech, which is looking very good. But they said, hey, we're going to make a sort of digital collectible miniatures board game with these cool giant golems, and you're going to have this stylus. And this is a digital stylus that reads information off the tiles and off the base of the miniature and tracks all this shit for you. So you don't have to worry about it. So it's a combination of digital and physical, and we're going to have an app to support and everything. Back at the thing thinking, that sounds great. It's not.
Right.
It isn't at all. Because as it turns out, when you oversimplify all that shit and when you have an app handle it all and have the computer handle it all, what you are then left with is an extremely shallow, simple, expensive, and pointless experience. It's like, this is any basic tactics game on Steam for $10, but this is $200 of fucking miniatures with a fancy fucking stylus. If the miniatures were good, maybe I would have liked it, but they're not. They're shit. I think the first time they came in, I showed you one of the miniatures I kickstarted. The paint job was just fucking awful. As it turns out, you can't just take a game, throw some aspects in a digital, and have it be good. So there's this interesting balance.
There's always a risk in trying to find a middle ground between two things that two different audiences appreciate.
Yeah.
Like you got your people like digital games, people like board games. I think they like them for different reasons.
Very,
So when you find
in
the
some
point in
ways.
between the two,
Yeah.
you sort of alienate both in a way.
Yeah, it very much kind of depends on the board game.
Yeah.
The best aspects of board games for me is the social aspect of it, for obvious
Exactly.
reasons.
That's the whole appeal of board games. You're all sitting around talking to each other.
Yeah.
You're not talking into earphones.
Yeah, so if there's player interaction, but I don't mind playing board games online using Tabletop Simulator or playing games like Armello, which is a digital board game.
Great game.
A lot of fun. And that it did not, with Armello, I think, if that was a board game, and it could be, nothing stopping it being a board game, it would have probably been less enjoyable because there is a certain amount of clunk that they can have the game handle under the hood, which isn't enjoyable to handle in real life. And you've got to like parts of these mechanics are really cool and are good to act out manually, and there are parts that are not. So finding that balance, as you said, is key. An example of one that works well because it has a digital element is XCOM, the board game, because they decided we want to make this real time. So what we need is an app that dictates that and gives you your instructions and stuff. And the whole tense aspect of the game comes from there. But it's social because you're interacting with the other team members with you and you're all panicking. And that shared stress and that shared approach, overcoming diversity, is the great part of it. That's why it's awesome.
Overcoming diversity.
Did I say overcoming diversity? Please tell me I did not say that. Last week, what was it last week that I said that we had to overcome equality or something like that?
Yeah. It's been good. It's been good every week.
Yes, I believe it was the enemy is racial equality. Like, fuck. Oh my God.
Can I
There you
just,
go,
I want
Tom
to put this
Blair.
out there to devs.
Happy 4th.
Devs who wish to make some sort of board game, video game, the Game of Thrones game that requires too much setup, too much time, too much knowledge of what's going on. Make a board game of it and have the computer do all that bullshit. That would sell like crazy.
How was the Dark Souls board game? I know you posted a video of that.
Yeah, so I played that in real life, and I also streamed it using Tabletop Sim. And the intriguing part of the Dark Souls board game is that the things that are bad about it are also the things that are good about it. Because what you had
I
is
just got my copy.
you got a copy.
the other
There you go.
day.
Yeah, it's got my wee tight night demon right there. It says on my desk.
Nice.
The miniatures are great, and there's even bigger ones. I have my Gaping Dragon on Kickstarter. It's about-
Sorry?
the Gaping Dragon, Jesse.
Ah, okay.
The Gaping Dragon.
Yeah.
I've been to that website. Pretty good.
It's like this big. This big. Stop.
Visually amazing boss.
Visually
Bloody awful boss in the
striking.
game.
Yeah.
Bloody awful to play. Visually fun. Visually the best. Visually my favorite. Probably my least favorite to actually kill.
Yeah. The developers of the board game were very much on the bandwagon of how do we translate the feeling of the board game to obnoxious levels onto a tabletop. And they have succeeded in doing that to its either success or detriment. The grinding, for instance. You have to grind in that game. There is no question. You go through as you go through the tiles, they have like encounters. When you beat the first mini boss, the encounters are reset with harder encounters, and then the final boss is put in play. So it's a dungeon crawler. So you uncover the card, and it's like you place these monsters here, this monster here. This is the setup. There might be traps, there might not be traps. Go, and you start off with basic characters. As far as I can tell, mathematically, it seems nigh on impossible to beat the mini boss without running that, killing the bosses for souls, and then going back to the bonfire to spend those souls to level up your character and get better gear. Because if you do not do that, because this is a game that involves dice rolling, you can't translate the physical dexterity aspect to a board game easily, you will fucking die. And some
Sounds
people,
pretty authentic so far.
yeah, it does. And some people who played it, who play board games, are like, this is fucking terrible design. And then the people who play Dark Souls is, this is great design.
This is actual Dark Souls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's like just like the video game. It's such an interesting study. I mean to make a video on the comparison between the Bloodborne card game, which is an excellent card game that might as well not be Bloodborne at all, and Dark Souls, and how one of them is a better board game but a worse translation of a video game. It's fascinating to me. Like, it's really interesting.
Speaking as a occasional indie developer, prototyping board games can be a good way to toss a gameplay idea around in the air.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
if you've got like a game idea, trying to make a board game version is an interesting challenge that's worth trying. I remember I tried like prototyping ideas for a board game that's kind of like plays a bit like the old Warhammer style, where you explore the map as it comes up. Various
Warhammer
pieces.
Quest?
Yeah, sort of, or like
Yeah.
Advanced Hero Quest, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I was trying to do it like with more sort of a stealth-based mechanic. So you have to watch guard patrol routes and avoid them as they go past. But it was a right arse, because
Yeah.
once I started like bringing this into like actual application, turns out you have to keep track of the movements of every guard, and every turn you have to keep track of what's visual and what isn't visual
Yep.
to a guard.
At which point you're like, this needs to be digital now. Like,
Yeah.
that's sort of the design, and making the maintenance and the upkeep of the game actually a fun part of the experience is what makes the really awesome board game shine.
Yeah, I think part of the fun is like making sure you got all the pieces in the right place.
Yeah.
I was considering
Moving shit around
having, like,
physically is enjoyable.
I was considering having like a physical object to represent a vision cone.
Yeah.
Where you just put it down in front of a guard, like a big pizza slice.
Yeah.
The players on there and they get caught or whatever. But then you have to worry, are they behind furniture? Are they behind a bit of wall?
The Dark Souls kind of has a bit of that with the boss movement mechanics and the
Yeah.
boss deck. The boss fucking goes through phases and has attack pattern orders just like the board game. And they have a card shuffle mechanic and deck build that actually represents that, and it does it in such a cool way. But the movement is a pain in the ass to fucking track because of the way that the four cones, this is the front of it, this is a quadrant here, this guy's here. Is it going to turn 90 degrees to the left, 90 degrees to the right? Did it just run into a wall? Well, how does it interact with that? It's like, that would have been much easier to track with a video game, no doubt. Yeah, it's worth playing. If you have played Dark Souls, it's worth playing for just all those moments of, this is cool, and simultaneously not.
I've
Right.
played an awful lot of Dark Souls.
Yeah.
I think 200 hours a piece on my Steam listings.
Yeah, you have to try the board game. When the expansions come out, it will probably be a lot better in terms of its content. But as it stands, like we had a fun time. 5 hours of a fun time. Like, just, God, this can drag. Like, especially when you're learning it. We weren't playing it properly either. Like, the rules are written by aliens. It's not well laid out. It's not logical at all. Anyway, we need to go break. Because otherwise it will be an hour more of board games, which actually I'm okay with, but I'd like to take a break before we do that. This episode of the Co-optional Podcast is proudly sponsored by Squarespace. Head over to squarespace.com/cooptional for 10% off your first order and a free trial. We have a wonderfully patriotic ad for you. I'm sure this will not upset anybody. We'll be right back after the break. You're watching the Independence Day edition of the Co-optional Podcast. Don't go anywhere. In 1776, we witnessed the birth of a nation. Tired of the oppressive yoke of the colonial invaders, the people of America demanded their independence. Tea was thrown in the harbor, greatly upsetting health-conscious fish who preferred kale smoothies. A well-organized militia peacefully protested at local business franchises, and Paul Revere penned the first lyrics for what would become a slightly above-average Weezer track. The question raged, is an inaccurate retelling of the American Revolution to advertise Squarespace highly disrespectful and potentially confusing? But in the end, isn't that what the battle for freedom was all about? The right to speak out loud and proud in the most disrespectful and confusing way possible. Consider what would have happened if 18th century internet wasn't rubbish, bogged down by inferior web designers and outdated presentation. Why, they could have let everyone know that the British were coming with a beautiful website from Squarespace. With the Squarespace events page, you can easily organize a calendar or list of events on your website. Concerts, meetings, book tours, casting off the shackles of imperialist rule. When time is of the essence, publish and share your events with Squarespace. I find this ad contrived and historically anachronistic, I hear you say. That sounds like the kind of opinion that you should present in a professionally designed template for additional gravitas. Head on over to squarespace.com/cooptional and take advantage of a free trial and 10% off your first order to quickly and angrily present your feelings on an all-in-one blogging platform that presents award-winning design on practically any device. 18th century internet was terrible, but it's mostly better now, allowing you to use the internet as it was intended, to spread any opinion, no matter how inane, across the globe in a matter of seconds. Use powerful tools to publish and sync with almost any social media platform and give birth to your own nation with Squarespace domains. Practically instant setup and no hidden fees. But I'm not American, I hear you cry. How can I give my money to Squarespace and receive 10% off my first order at squarespace.com/cooptional? Don't worry, Squarespace takes American dollars, dingo dollars, sorry dollars, Swiss francs, Czech koruna, Danish krona, euros, British pounds, Hong Kong dollars, Israeli shekels, Malaysian ringgits, Mexican pesos, Norwegian krona, stop calling us Australia, we're not even on the same landmass dollars, Philippine pesos, Polish zloty, Russian rubles, Swedish krona, Singapore dollars, Thai baht, and a nice cup of tea. Squarespace, they keep sponsoring us for some reason. Head to squarespace.com/cooptional for 10% off your first order and a free trial. Wherever you are, whatever your flag, celebrate your freedom and make your next move with Squarespace. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Co-Optional Podcast. Hopefully you enjoyed the sounds of probably my favorite OC remix track ever of all time by 6-2 Sound, Steppo and Zircon, Passing of the Blue Crown remix from Mega Man 3. Fucking...
What a great song.
So very, very good. It's incredible. Check out ocremix.org for a bunch of incredibly awesome video game remixes.
It's an oldie but a goodie.
Yep, they continue to truck on in a fantastic fashion. Speaking of fantastic fashion, incidentally, big shout out to those who are currently doing speedruns on Summer Games Done Quick. There's been some really cool stuff going on with that. I watched the Guacamelee 100% speedrun.
Ooh.
Oh, yes.
It made me feel like I had a tiny penis. Let me just put it that way. Jesus, good God, how good is this person? For those who don't play Guacamelee, play Guacamelee. Excellent. Combine Metroidvania with luchador wrestling, and you get Guacamelee. It's fucking great.
It's one of my favorite sorts of Metroidvanias as well, where the focus is more on easy to learn, hard to master, skillful maneuvering around the area.
Yeah. What I really liked about it is that Metroidvania's got the idea of get this ability, this lets you bypass this area. All of those abilities were like shit like wrestling moves. The fact that you could do an uppercut became a way to traverse the environment. It became a platforming mechanic. It's like, that's really good design.
Yeah, I was playing Hollow Knight recently.
Oh, Dodger loves Hollow Knight.
I love that game.
I was enjoying it, then I got to a bit where I got the double jump, and I was like, oh, that was obvious. You let me down, Hollow Knight. Needed a bit more creative thinking there.
Yeah, you're expecting something a little bit cooler. I think Guacamelee is... I can't think of a game that got more creative with terrain bypassal abilities than Guacamelee did, just in the sense of I love how committed it is to theme. Now, to the point of exhaustion. But speaking of exhaustion, like I said, the speed run, at a 100% run, not an any percent run, the guy commentating beautifully the entire way through, which is fucking hard to do.
That's the craziest part.
Yeah.
Being able to do that at the same time. I guess at a certain point, it just becomes second nature.
Yeah.
Go,
I mean, there's a
uh,
reason that they always have a panel of like 3 or 4 people behind them,
Yeah.
right? Like,
He had his guy to help him. He didn't. You barely used them. The guy was just
They,
sitting there chilling because the guy, yep, I can handle this. Don't worry.
The Metroid Prime run was really interesting because the guy like knew percentages. He's like, well, if I get this, there's a 2.5% chance that I get. It was crazy, Wad. It was like
I love the
a
knowledgeable
savant
guys.
up there
Yeah.
just nailing it. And he was going through most levels sideways, like not even looking at stuff, firing. Because I guess he played it so much, he would shoot into a corner because he knew a guy would spawn there, and it would
Yeah.
just instantly die and he'd keep moving. And it was like, this man, this is him. This is all. Everything in his life has
He
come
has
to this one
become the
moment.
game.
He was like the wizard. He was just going like he knows everything about this game. It was crazy to watch.
He's gone beyond
Well,
the game. Going way, way
Remember
back.
that you can be good at other things.
You can.
Nope.
But if you are, you're not allowed on summer games done quick. So,
Seems not. No.
yes. But they're raising a ton of money for charity, and that's a fucking awesome thing. So, cool. Yeah. Do watch some speedruns on them when we're done with this show.
yeah, don't go yet.
Please.
We have so many interesting things to say.
Yeah, they aren't doing anything right now at all. Don't even
Nope.
go there.
They're
Yeah.
shut down right now, so don't.
You know, look, they need to do something with their late night version of their like when there's like one dude in the audience and it's like games no one really cares about. Switch it up. Switch it up. Speed run hentai games nighttime. I'm telling
Oh,
you.
God.
Well, that's easy. You just press the fast forward button. I
Yeah,
know.
but people would watch.
Well, I guess we're giving away how much we know about hentai games here, aren't we?
I don't
Look,
have
you
a
just
clue.
gotta press that space bar. You gotta get to those boobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Oh,
Mhm.
my.
Lord knows we're not here for the plot.
Well,
we
the
started at a new
plot.
school and we're attractive to the ladies. Yeah, I got it.
And one of them's a tentacle monster.
Ah,
Wow.
Never saw that coming.
What was that one where all the ladies are tanks?
Oh my god.
Panzer model.
Panzer
Yeah.
model, yeah.
Yeah, I was streaming that. I was playing that for the first time on stream with the Escapist guys. And, well, we had fun. We had
Which
fun.
tank did you go for? I must know.
Oh,
The German
we
one.
ended up on this weird date with the Russian one in a bar, and she made us drink a whole bunch. And we didn't.
That
even
sounds right.
Sounds like a great date.
Video game.
Oh yeah, the Nier Automata run was one-handed. That was cool.
Oh,
What?
God.
Mm-hmm. That was a cool run. I watched that, and that dude like zoomed through that game, and he's like, "Well, you don't even need to like jump here. You can just triple jump and then up." I was like, it was good. Him being like, "Well, you have to watch this cutscene." He's just like one-handed destroying it. I was like, "Oh, it was great." It
I
was
didn't
so
watch
fun.
it because I still haven't got through even one run of that damn thing, and I need to
Yeah.
just actually sit down and do it. I didn't want the spoilers. That's yeah, some awesome stuff going on there as always.
Was the speedrun to ending A? That game's got
I
a weird
don't know.
idea of what the word ending means.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was just a normal run with 2B.
Right.
what else has everyone
Um,
been playing this week? Dodger, what you got?
Can I, since I didn't get a chance before, can I talk a little bit about Final Fantasy 14?
Yeah, of course. We can go back to that. Yeah.
Because Jesse brought it up and then was like, anyway, moving on to 15. And I
I
was like,
wanted to
wait a
very
minute.
quickly. I knew you had something nice to say, so I want to move on very quickly from that.
That's
I was
not how
just gonna
discussions
say,
work at all.
because the potion was brought up, I wanted to say that I made an alt character with a potion. So I've seen like what the potions do, which is kind of cool. So they when they brought out Stormblood, they made it so that you can once per account buy a potion that skips all of the story and a potion that gives you a level 60 version of any class that you want.
Potion that skips the story is sometimes known as tequila.
Ah, da-da-da-da-da. This is why we bring him on.
Yeah, so I used the level 60 black mage potion, which gave you like a full set of black mage gear as well as leveling you up. And then
Where do I get that? I'm a black mage. I want that.
You go to the store and buy it.
you go to the
Oh, I
Mog
wanna buy
Station
it.
store and buy it.
Pass. Never
Um,
mind.
I
and
love
then-
that.
And then the other potion is like to skip all of the story stuff up until Stormblood so that you can just start with Stormblood if you want.
Yeah.
I was creating an alternate character because Because I didn't want to race change my other character because he has to be a cat boy forever.
Oh,
He's been a
no.
cat boy for too long. The game is set up so that you only need one character. One character can be all.
You want to be a dragon boy?
No, I'm a row boy. I'm
a robot?
What? No, I'm the big boys. I'm the big green boys. Rogue Aiden.
Too many.
Anyways.
Look, there's too many new races in
What
this
is
damn
that?
game.
That's the thing I don't understand. I don't follow Final Fantasy very much. This is all Greek to me.
Look.
I was just look. All you need to know is there's every other race, and then there's little cute baby potato boys, and those are the ones you play as.
Uh-huh.
Everyone else is stupid.
Yeah, the evil potatoes, Lalos.
No, they're not evil. They're just better than everyone else.
The evil potatoes, Lalafels. Anyways, so the potion gives you a lot of stuff and then doesn't give you some stuff. It gives you, understandably, it gives you every dungeon and trial that is necessary to the story. All of the like side ones you have to go and get for yourself. They don't just let you have those. They don't let you have any of the like PvPing stuff or any of the raids, totally understandably. And then there were things that I kind of expected them to give you, and they did not. Like, I don't have a chocobo as this character. I would have to like go and do the quests in order to get
Disgusting.
a chocobo. They did give me dying. I didn't have to like unlock dying, but they didn't give me glamours. So I had to unlock glamours.
They gave you dye. Well,
The
as in-
process of die, not
Oh.
Like,
dying
to
as
die.
in death.
Oh,
my clothes.
okay. It's like they gave you the ability to die. Why
They
would you
gave
want
me
that?
dying.
I don't understand that in the slightest.
So yeah, my Roboy Supakuru is a level 60 red mage. And red mage has been really, really fun so far. But yeah.
Cool, glad to hear it. Bring in the dog.
Also, oh,
There we go.
So he wasn't taking hints.
We do not-
also, Jesse, the people that watched you stream Final Fantasy 14 said that you did a classic Jesse thing and insisted on doing all of the side quests. It's no wonder that you got super fucking bored.
Not my fault that the side quests are blame that on the designers. Not
I'm just
my
saying,
problem.
like, if you're not sticking to the main story, they populate the game with so many fucking quests because as one character, you're supposed to have enough quests to level up, like, how many different classes? You're not supposed to go to an area and do every single side quest.
I
Then if
only
you ever
intend to
wanted
level
to,
up one class, and it's not my fault.
okay,
Poor game design. Hashtag game design. Blame it on them. Don't blame it on me. Just because I'm trying to appreciate everything they did doesn't mean I'm the bad person.
uh-huh.
I'm just saying, if you're only doing the main story quests, maybe you're the bad guy.
I considered doing the whole skip thing. So I was looking at it. I installed the game, which
Oh, aw.
don't worry, this ain't going anywhere good. I was like, hey, I'll install it. I was like, because I hear what you're saying about it, and that itch, that small little itch inside me
Yeah.
that says I should play an MMO again, just slowly creeped out. I downloaded the thing. I'm like, all right, and I know about this skip thing. I've heard that Realm Reborn kind of sucks, and Stormblood's great. So sure, I'll buy the skip thing, not a problem. And then the game took so long to update via the launcher that I gave up and uninstalled the game. So I never played it.
Classic MMO experience.
Yep. It's like 10 gig download
You,
on Steam.
you scratched the itch in the amount of time that it took to just
Yeah,
download it.
Pretty much. And
That's all I
through
needed.
all of the nauseating account setup and bullshit and verification and that, and I was just waiting for this thing to launch, 5-minute download on Steam, 10 gig. But that's like, dude, we need a 30 gigabyte update through the launcher. This is going to download at the speed of half a PSN, which is, basically carrier pigeon at that point.
Mhm.
And that successfully meant that I could push down my urge to play an MMO again because it took too
Perfect.
long.
I can't make fun of you. I had that exact same urge when it came to SWTOR. And I was like, yo, I'm going to download Star Wars again. I'm going to jump into that shit because there's new stuff. I'm ready for it. Downloaded it. Maybe logged in. 3 minutes later, logged out, have not touched it again. I was like, yeah, all right, I'm good. I've seen all I need to see. Like, I don't know. I think because MMORPGs live in that realm of it's about the memories you create in them with friends and the adventures you go on, that
Yeah.
it's not necessarily about the game. So when you go, you have that itch, like, I want to return, I want to go back into there, I want to experience again. When
Yeah.
you get there, you're like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was. This is like, I'm remembering something totally different.
Mhm.
It's like when you go back for a high school reunion and you're like, oh God, you're all awful people. Like that's what it's like. MMORPGs
Right.
are the high school reunions of video games. When you go back to them, you're like, oh God.
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
a Skinner box, really.
Oh,
you like the level up sound effect, and you're motivated to keep going for that. Not a whole lot else. I tend to avoid them like generally these days because I got to review a game a week, and I've done MMO reviews in the past, but they always turn into first impression reviews because you can't get very far in a week.
No, I mean
Right.
you can't. It's like you can't finish an MMO, as it were. So it's like get through probably the quest content that's available, dabble the end game a little bit, then throw your review on, and move on. But
Yeah, you get up to the point where the addiction set in, and then you have to break it off hard.
yeah, that was a good solid 5 years of my life with WoW. Kind of don't want to revisit it.
as a last thing, everybody should absolutely, whether you want to play the game or not, everybody should absolutely watch the No Clip documentary on Final Fantasy 14.
They absolutely should. Yeah.
It's so good. All
Yep.
3 parts are out now. It's great. And by the end of it, you're going to be like, I got to meet Yoshi P one day just so that I can give him a high five. Cause goddamn, like it's really, really good.
Yes, it is. It's sort of the story of this was terrible and shit. We rebuilt the whole thing. This was the
Mhm.
story of us doing that, which is quite a cool story to watch. Yeah, that's a frequent contributor to the show, frequent guest Danny O'Dwyer, working on that
Yeah.
via Patreon, friend of the show, and doing a very good job with it. Honestly, looking forward to seeing
Oh,
what his
to,
next project is.
To the guy in chat who says, I want the Overwatch MMO that was Titan. Apparently, it was bad. Like,
Danny also wrote an investigative article on that. Actually,
Yeah.
Well, actually,
Yeah.
pretty sure he did a video on it for GameSpot before he left.
apparently it was
It's like, no, you don't want that.
Really bad. Yeah.
really bad. And that's
Like
why they were like,
every-
we have to scrap it. Yeah.
Every single person that played it was like, this is not fun. Like, this is bad.
Right. So be
So.
thankful we got something to rise from the ashes out of that turned out to be pretty popular and give us a lot of like really fun characters and stuff, because word on the street is it was bad.
Yeah.
Oh well.
You don't want to play it.
Yep.
What else have we been playing this week? What you got?
Well, not a whole lot. It's July, fucking July, as game reviewers call it. I don't know if you've already covered it, but I've been playing a bit of Dead Cells recently.
I was
Dead
about
Cells
to
is great.
say, I played Dead Cells yesterday since they updated it.
Yeah, there's just been an update.
hmm
Have you covered
How do-
it?
We did. Yeah, we've
talked about it when it first came
yeah.
out.
Yeah, but I'd love to
Yeah.
hear your take on it. Yeah, Dodger likes a lot. I dip in and out. I've said that it's in my opinion, the best sort of example of a roguelite yet in the way that it handles progression and there's sort of meta progression and dying and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, I like the that it's a pretty convincing adaptation of sort of Dark Souls style combat into 2D.
Hmm.
And it kind of feels to me like sort of coin up arcade game made out of Dark Souls, sort of.
Right.
I haven't gotten that far in it because I tend to panic when I get crowded by too many enemies. And I think,
Have you had a boss?
yeah, I've defeated the boss once. I defeated the first boss once.
Yeah.
A lot of help on that guy.
I think they still only have 2 bosses in
Really?
it with the update. I'm pretty sure. When
Well, I
it
guess they-
when it originally was put on early access, it had 2 bosses. Chat can confirm or deny, but I don't think that they added another boss with the update.
I guess it can't be that long. Because
It's
if
like
you die, you have to go right to the start of the game.
Yeah. They released it with like 40 hours ish of content, I believe that they said, assuming that, that you figure out how to play it well enough that you can get to the final boss.
Yeah, I mainly use a shield. And you can shield attacks, and you can dodge attacks, and you can throw out stunning bombs and stuff, all of which I forget about. I land in the middle of 500 guys, and they all start passing me around with their vicious attack particle effects.
Yes.
The way that, when I first started playing the game, I was all about stacking bleed because the
Hmm.
bleed was just they've nerfed it since, I think, but the bleed when
Yeah.
it first came onto early access was insane. But since then, yeah, like the way that the game lets you progress, like the weapons that you really enjoy using, you can just continue to put points into and make them better and better and better, but you might not ever find them on a run, you know. So
Yeah, I was just playing it last night, and I picked up. I don't know if this was new to the latest update, but Firebrands.
yeah,
Fiery
yeah,
brand.
that was a newer one to me too.
Those things just aren't fair. on
They're
the
great.
enemy. I just throw
They-
3 of them at a guy who's like half a room away, and then hide behind a ledge and watch him slowly die.
There's a trinket ability that you can get as well. That's like when you do your ground slam, the ground underneath you turns into fire. So now I feel like anybody who is like me that was just going really ham on bleed is now going really ham on burning because you could just like stack up burning now. So
You know,
fun.
what's interesting that you bring that up is, obviously Dead Cells has got a lot of positive attention, rightfully so, because it's very good in many ways. That there's starting to creep in feedback from players who've played it a lot that you are too powerful. That the bleed was a good example. The stacking bleeds and the way that certain items would interact with bleeds and do so much damage when an enemy was bleeding and so forth. I think Northern Lion brought this up because he plays quite a lot of Dead Cells and also is a very experienced roguelite player, saying, this game is great, but it might be too easy. Like, it might be a bit broken, and sort of in your quest to make you feel extremely powerful, you may have overdone it a bit.
Well, that's
Well,
definitely not been my experience.
It's not
was-
been
I
mine
was
either
gonna
because I'm
say,
terrible, but
They in this update they added new enemies and they made areas more difficult. I think they're trying to like scale difficulty a bit better. Because yeah, up until the point that you get to the first boss, and I can't tell if it's because I've gotten used to the mannerisms of all of the monsters that you see up until that point, but I feel now it's pretty easy to get to the first boss. And then all of the stuff after the first boss feels like it kind of ramps up. But again, I haven't seen all of them as much, so I forget like what their rotations are and what kind of abilities they use, you know?
Well,
So
they want to boost difficulty. One thing I might suggest is remove the little exclamation marks that appears over enemies' heads. Right. as
oh,
they're about to attack.
the attack warning. Yeah,
Yeah, the Batman Arkham Asylum glowy, press counter now alert.
I've actually never noticed that they have that.
they do.
Really?
Yeah,
Do you not use a shield much?
I
I've
use
never
a shield
met
sometimes.
a person that's used a
I'm,
shield.
I'm
I'm
more
gonna be honest.
about fast abilities and then getting out of there,
Yeah.
dodge rolling and stuff.
Shields
cover.
are like. Yeah. And
Huh?
shields are great because you can just. You
Nothing, you-
stop their attack and you get free damage on them. And I guess it works for my style. Always a big tanker in Dark Souls as well.
Yeah,
I like the assault shield, but like things like
Hmm.
the greed shield don't wind up feeling worth it because I won't kill the thing fast enough in my mind.
yeah. I sort of encountered a similar thing, but I'm nowhere near as good or advanced as at the game as you are. It's yeah. I think removing that would be good, but as you kind of mentioned, like it is quite a particle effect heavy game.
Yeah,
Which
it gets
makes
very
me
visually
wonder.
busy. That's why the mobbing really sort of turns things around very quick for me.
Yeah, which makes me think that might be tricky to notice and see those attack animations as a result of that, which is probably
Yeah.
the reason they put that in.
Well, the exclamation marks get lost
Yeah.
as well.
I mean, I was
They-
watching the exclamation marks here. It's like they're quite visually distinct, and they have what looks like a black stroke outline to make sure that they would show up in well lit, colored lighting. But yeah, it may require some rework for that. Interesting idea, though.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
keep waiting in this footage to see an enemy so that I can like see this exclamation point. It hasn't happened yet.
Yeah,
You could even add an option. I mean, they just added fairly recently. They added an easy option to strafe, and I'm wondering why more roguelikes don't do something like that. Because there always seems to be some level of alienation between the people who just want to play a game and the people who want the serious challenge that most roguelikes give.
yeah. When we were
Surprising
talking,
more people don't think about difficulty settings.
when we were talking about Darkest Dungeon earlier, that's a great example of a game that didn't force the player to play the way that it says you have to. When they first introduced two fairly controversial mechanics, which were corpses and heart attacks, they pretty much immediately gave you the option to turn those off if you didn't want them. And with the DLC, the three major elements of the DLC you can turn on or off at will. So if you don't want this or that, it's got no problem letting you have that. And then, of course, when they put Radiant and kind of Stygian Blood Moon difficulties in, they're like, yeah, play how you want. We're not going to fucking judge you for it.
Yeah.
Strafe in particular is a fucking difficult game. And I don't think it's the difficulty necessarily that's the problem, but it's just, it's not particularly well designed in many ways.
Yeah, a bit
Too much
visually boring as well.
Yeah, too much running backwards in badly procedurally generated fucking levels, firing the same weapon over and over again, which is not fun to me.
Yeah, it's not really the Quake experience that it's trying to create either.
No. I mean, really, the Quake experience, in my opinion, it's not something they really mentioned, but the marketing very much implied it because of the whole 90s shooter 90s. It's like, it didn't actually, it was never really that.
I think I mentioned in my review of Strafe, which was last week, I think, that in the original Quake and games like that, self-preservation was always pretty low on the list of priorities while you were playing because there were hell kits everywhere. And it was not as important as killing everything and rocket jumping onto things and rubbing up against walls going, looking for the secrets.
Yeah.
But in a roguelite, self-preservation is like key, pinnacle.
Yeah, hugely important.
Most important thing. And because there's so little opportunities to heal up in that game.
Yes, it's a bit of a pain in the arse in that respect. It does come down, I think, in many ways to properly balancing various difficulty levels and the development time associated with that. Like, in particular, in early access, you can kind of understand why games wouldn't really prioritize that. But I do believe, and we've said it before because we keep coming back to this, it's like a recurring thing that happens on the podcast every 2 months where we get into the should or should not Dark Souls have an easy mode argument. And how vitriolic that debate online can be, and the people who made the argument like it would defile the core of the game. Its heart would be ripped out and stamped upon by the casuals and such things. And then people say, well, it doesn't affect you though in any way. Like, this isn't a problem. So
and
back and forth with that.
We're never saying that they have to do that.
No, we're never
we didn't
saying
make
that.
the fucking game.
No,
but like if they
no.
did add it, we wouldn't give a shit. I
No,
think is the point.
We wouldn't complain. If I was like,
Well,
yeah,
it
but there are
does.
easier ways to play the game. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, I get that, but it's not as obvious to people and as just selecting a difficulty.
Well, if you want to play Dark Souls easy mode, you just have a browser open with the wiki and look up where what all the best character builds are.
Yeah, because there are those. I remember when I first played Demon's Souls, and there was an advice for that. Right, get to the first level, immediately go to World 4, do this shit, avoid the rolling bullshit skeleton shit. Here's a fucking incredible weapon that you can use. And then as soon as you get that and this ring, that will make the bunch of this other shit in a different order much easier. If I didn't have the wiki, there is no chance I would have ever fucking found that myself. It just wouldn't have happened. The Black Edition of Demon's Souls that came out in the UK came with a fucking guidebook that told you to do that. Straight up. It was in the special edition.
I'd argue that the From Software, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Demon Souls games are almost designed to be played as a sort of community experience.
Yeah.
Where you consulting, talk to each other, consult on the wiki. I mean, that's why there's that whole leaving messages on the ground for other players mechanic.
Yeah.
And the lore is set up that way too.
That's the lore. Yeah. The lore is a community based, like, oh, you found this? Well, I found this. Let's put that shit together.
Yeah.
And it is a compelling reason for people to buy those games and launch to be part of the zeitgeist. I keep bringing it up. It came up years ago when Fez first came out. There was a big effort to figure out what the fuck some stuff meant, and every time somebody figured something out, it was like, oh my god! And being part of that was a cool experience for people. And I think being part of any new Souls kind of like game release is also like that. As people do as a community try and figure things out. The thing is, like, that sort of stops happening after the first month or two.
Mm.
And it almost makes me think, okay, if you're going to object to having an easy mode, maybe just don't turn it on for the first month and then turn it on. Like,
Sure.
maybe it doesn't get unlocked until X number of people beat the final boss or some shit. I don't know. There's ways and means around it that don't infringe or impinge on that in any way. It just requires a bit of thought.
Basically, I just miss difficulty settings with funny names.
Yeah.
That was a 90s tradition.
Yep. I can't wait for the difficulty settings in Wolfenstein New Colossus. They'll be great. They'll
Rise
be
of the
wonderful.
Triad went crazy with that. There was like
Yeah,
5
they
alternative lists of difficulty settings.
Yeah. I remember when I think it was a Games Media site got genuinely upset that the easy mode had BJ Blazkowicz in with a
With a
fucking
baby bonnet.
dummy in a baby bonnet. It's like, this is insulting to the man. And I'm like, God damn it.
Oh.
That's like somebody is hitting a bit too close to the bone there by the sounds of it. Oh dear.
That was classic Wolfenstein. And the old id shooters that used to insult you every time you tried to quit the game as well.
Yes.
Whatever happened to that?
Do love it when they do that. Although I like prefer the guilt tripping of Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri before. I was like, please don't go. The drones need you. They look up to you. It's like, fuck. Okay, I'll play another turn. Bastards.
Oh, what was
That's
that
why
game?
I hate Animal Crossing. Fuck that shit.
Does it
I don't
guilt
need
trip you when
games
you leave?
guilt tripping me. I get that enough from humans.
Hmm.
Dodger, you don't mean that, do you?
We're gonna have a talk later.
Oh dear. I played a bit of Lawbringers. Breakers, not
So
Lawbringers.
Hinky's been playing the
Breakers.
shit out of that.
Yeah.
he has. My God.
I was like, well, you can tell the marketing for that game isn't working because I immediately forgot what it was called. So maybe, yeah. I'd played the alpha for this. I'd also played it at a PAX and pretty much dug it.
You've evangelized pretty hard on this game.
To some extent, yeah.
Seems like,
And
you
also
really like it.
and also provided feedback for the stuff that I think isn't good, and seen that's actually resulted in changes in the latest version. One of the complaints that I had about it was initially the only way to heal your character was to go to a healing station, of which there were like 2 on the map, and stand in it. And if you didn't, you were like, I'm running around with 3 hit points. I'm going to be killed by a mild breeze. What am I even alive for? I might as well actually blow myself up because it would be more effective and useful to my team if I did and just respawn. There are now health pickups and also a class that has mild healing as well. So good. That was a good way to do it. It's like you lose momentum and pacing in a game like that when you have dead man walking syndrome. It's like, I just got off a fight. I've got 20 hit points. If I run towards the objective, I am going to die 100% and not contribute a fucking thing. So I need my health back, but I don't have a way to get it back unless I run the other side of the map and stand in a fucking healing fountain. So no, thankfully that's not there. It's got more classes in it. It's got more game modes in it. There's a game mode called Blitzball for the Final Fantasy X fans. I believe I have heard rumors the ball is voice acted by Rick from Rick and Morty.
Interesting.
I'm gonna double check that. Somebody had mentioned this or something like that. Morty, yeah, I think it's Morty. Justin Roiland, yes, voices the ball in that mode, which is a mode where you pick up the ball and take it to the goal. Kind of
Righty.
bombing run from UT2K4, but a bit simpler. And
I remember when that was a mode in Team Fortress Classic that nobody ever played.
yeah, could use
So
a
is
bit
it very
more.
So is it very different from Overwatch? Because
Yeah,
I looked it up online, and the very first top story says
Overwatch.
Lawbreakers is very different from Overwatch.
I mean, I've been saying this since the fucking alpha because apparently, if you make a shooter with classes in now, you are Overwatch. I think Team Fortress 2 might be highly upset by that concept and all of the other class-based shooters that came before Overwatch.
I think Battleborn might have been upset by that.
Battleborn is upset for a lot of
Sorry,
reasons.
yeah.
That's- oh god! But the interesting thing about it is that it's far more. It's something that's like it's a kind of an arena shooter, but a hero shooter as well. To me, it's more focused on individual skill than Overwatch is, because there are matchups in Overwatch where you turn a corner and you are this class and are confronting this class, and your chances of winning are next to 0. That is not the case in Lawbreakers. Everybody has a very effective set of weapons and abilities that let them kill anybody else. So there are no support roles as there were. Everybody is a shooty role. Some people may have a kit that is a bit more focused towards mobility. Someone else might have a bit of a tankier kit, but they're still focused on fucking killing people. And the zero-G aspect to it, and the really cool blind fire, which I like. You can point your gun backwards, which is something I haven't seen a shooter do before. And in the zero-G areas, it will propel you through the air.
Ah.
So if you start to learn to chain that with your cool movement-based abilities, like say there's one that has kind of like a dagger she throws out that she could swing on, kind of Pitfall style, you chain all of that shit together, and half the map areas have these zero-G areas, you can get some absurd speed and momentum up. Which is something that the game does a terrible job of explaining to you. The biggest problem I think that game has, other than the fact that it's going to be a multiplayer-only shooter for $30, which may very well be dead on arrival, is the coolest concepts in that game are not front-loaded and immediately explained well to the player. So you have people complaining, it's like, the zero-G is so slow. It's not. You can move at absurd speeds as most people don't even know the blind fire button's even there. Because the game doesn't fucking throw it in your face and say, this is a thing, do it. This is key to being good. So it's having difficulty, I think, finding purchase with an audience as a direct result of that. And it's absolutely has to make sure that people know about its cool stuff. For the love of God, just show why you are cool. Make it so fucking obvious to everybody that plays that game that they can then understand why they would want to play something like that over something else. That's the problem I think it currently has. I think it's pretty good, actually. Characters are a bit edgy, but it's a
I was going to say it looks a bit generic.
I mean,
See, that's what I thought the first time that I looked at it too.
Yeah, so you see, someone said that to me on Twitter yesterday, and I thought, like, generic could sort of imply that there is a bunch of stuff around currently that looks like that, and I don't know if there is really
generic, adhering to a genre.
Maybe it's more just it doesn't stand out as interesting.
Yeah, it doesn't.
I think
pop.
that's
It's
more
just
of
people in
that.
the usual like plastic piecemeal armor.
Yeah,
I weird colored hairdos.
Yeah,
What?
I think that's more. That's more of it. Like the problem, it's going up against Overwatch's character design, which apparently, according to everyone, seems to be the best in a generation. You know.
Well, it's good, but it's good because it's goes out of its way to make every character a sort of distinct thing.
Yes.
A distinct thing adhering to a distinct sort of genre or type.
Yes, Lawbreakers doesn't do that as well. Like, there's no doubt, because like not everybody's a human because there is a robot, but everybody else is a human of various sizes, sure, and of various colors and hair colors and such. But you don't have a monkey. You don't have, a spiritual robot monk. You don't have.
It doesn't make a lot of sense for there to be a guy dressed as a cowboy in the game, but it makes him very distinct. He's the cowboy dude.
Yeah.
It's like how Team Fortress 2 went out of its way to make every character's silhouette as distinct before everything else.
Yes. Yeah. TF2 is another great example of we made these things distinct, iconic, and gave them a real identity. And that identity allowed us to maintain popularity for a long fucking time through fan art and community creations and all that kind of stuff.
Do you remember Anarchy Reigns?
I do, and it was awesome, and I hope they port it. I hope that's the next Platinum game that gets ported, because Sega seems really onto that.
Yeah, because they've just done Bayonetta and Vanquish, of course.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the screenshots of Lawbreakers, and Anarchy Reigns suddenly came to mind.
Yeah, that was a pretty overlooked game.
I was about to say, why don't I remember this game at all?
It was like I wouldn't say sequel, but it followed on from Mad World because it had the same main character. Sort of, but it was also a hero shooter at the
Kinda, yeah. It was on like a third-person hero shooter platinum brawler thingy with some multiplayer and sort of a world mashup between some platinum stuff. I think Bayonetta was in it, and the main character
Yeah?
Mad World was in
I
it.
don't remember Bayonetta being in it.
Let me double check.
There's definitely a girl who looks like Ben, and actually, there are 3 girls who look like
Yeah.
Ben.
Bayonetta was in it. I think, the narrative reason for her appearance in Anarchy Reigns is unclear. It's like, I like that. Apparently, I think she was DLC for,
I assume
which would be why.
Because I remember playing through the story mode of that game, but yeah, I don't remember.
And that was a weird one because it had some multiplayer functionality in as well, which is unusual for Platinum stuff. Yeah, I definitely hope they bring that out on PC because that got overlooked and could probably probably do a second shot at it. It was almost like there was also like bits of Power Stone in there as well. It was sort of like
it came out,
arena
it wasn't.
brawler.
It didn't seem to get marketed at all. I mean, I just checked like the release schedule to see what's worth reviewing, and that was when I saw that coming up in like the upcoming week. That was the first I'd heard of it.
Yeah, it definitely flew well under the radar. I think a PC re-release would probably help it a lot in that regard. Yeah, I want to play Anarchy Reigns again now.
Well, it's just all these like hero shooters have come out now, so it's probably get overshadowed a bit.
Yeah, but it was primarily single player, which is something that Jesse, you were talking about Agents of Mayhem, the Saints Row devs' new thing, which is like, I mean, there's like, it's a single player hero shooter where you swap between 3 characters and they all have ability sets and stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
if it's anything, I mean, I don't know. I don't know that it's like Anarchy Reigns. I'm looking at Anarchy Reigns like the character. Every one of these character models reminds me a lot more of Metal Gear Revengeance.
Yeah.
Than it, but I'm a huge fan of games like this where you can play with someone else. Though I love the like. I'm not sure how keen I am on Agents of Mayhem when it's by yourself. When the best parts of Saints Row were playing with another person.
Right.
I disagree there. I think Saints Row 4 in particular holds up pretty well as a fun single player experience.
I would agree with that, actually. I played Saints Row 4 pretty much exclusively in single player and I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, me too. Well, much more than like the latter GTAs, I'd say.
Yeah, but I know you played a bunch with Krendor, didn't you, Jesse? And
yeah,
that was sort of your experience of it.
I can understand. We had a lot of problems playing Saints Row 4 together because there's a lot of parts where it's definitely single player in mind. So when we would start things, either we destroy it instantly or it would bug out to the point where it's like, all right, well, we have to go through the single player and then we'll connect after the event's over. Kind of stuff.
Isn't there a bit in Saints Row 4 where you have to play a text adventure?
And it's great. Yeah, the dominatrix.
That would have been great in co-op.
Enter the Dominatrix, I think they called it.
Yeah,
they played around quite a bit with like the DLC and stuff and weird shit. Like that was again they sort of jumped the shark in the best possible way. I think.
I'm blown away that I've never heard of Anarchy Reigns before.
Yeah,
it looks great. It looks so good.
Like I said, it got very slipped by notice. I think it came out in January one year.
2013, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what you're watching on the screen right now is sort of a 3-player survival mode where people are playing all the different characters. And I think Bayonetta may have just stomped on one of her own allies there. I'm not sure. And like I said, there's some weird multiplayer shit in that game. Like, it was a strange game. Really odd.
Before its time, perhaps. I
would absolutely agree with that, yeah. But
I like this like Egyptian bee lady. She's awesome looking.
Yeah, there's some interesting characters in there. It's a shame Okami isn't. Also, Amaterasu is not in there. They should have just thrown. I guess they couldn't have because Clover and Capcom. But yeah,
this one character literally looks like the first boss of Revengeance, just minus all the arms. Like it's almost a direct copy of the character, except she came out before. But like, this is crazy.
Why they got that. Yeah. Oh, there you go. Yeah. Sega, I believe, stated that nothing is off the table at the moment when it comes to bringing stuff to PC. And I'm interested to see what they do next. I think Anarchy Reigns is a very obvious choice. Like, when you've brought Bayonetta and Vanquish over, there's kind of no reason not to bring Anarchy Reigns next.
Mm.
The other stuff is less likely, like Mad World,
Wonderful
probably
101.
not. I would love Wonderful 101 to come to PC. That would be excellent. I wonder how well do you think the controls would work without a touch screen?
I barely remember how that game controlled.
Yeah, to
I remember there was another
draw the
game that was very
formations
bad
and
at
shit.
training the player.
That was a game that it was difficult and challenging and weird, but also cool. And it was like, hey, we're gonna make a game for the Wii U that uses the touchscreen tablet to do shit and to make your attacks and put all of you dudes together to make a giant hammer and hit people with and all that kind of thing. And a lot of people bounced off that game for like, this is a thoroughly bizarre combat system. I mean, but I'd love anything from Platinum on PC. That would be great. Wasn't there that DS game that was a space exploration game that Platinum did?
What was it called?
Yeah.
Something space.
Platinum Space.
This did not help
Got it.
anybody. Hang on. Platinum Games Space. Infinite Space.
Oh, was that Platinum Games? I don't think I ever played that.
Yeah. They actually released a weird it was in 2009 sci-fi role-playing space simulation real-time tactics game for some
Oh,
reason.
That's keeping a lot of balls in the air, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's it. Platinum made some weird shit. They may very well be known for Spectacle Fighters, but they also released a bunch of others like, what? They made what? Sorry?
I invented the term Spectacle Fighter, and I want my due
you did.
credit.
Yep. I credit you for that.
Okay.
I didn't nick it. I thoroughly credit you for that.
Thank you.
People are trying to replace it with character action, though. You got to resist that.
So, everyone,
Character action's bollocks.
hashtag Spectacle Fighter, quick.
Absolutely. Unacceptable to get rid of that term. It's a good one. Anyone else been playing anything else?
Not that I can think of.
Well, I played some Friday the 13th, the game, recently.
Oh, my.
Yeah, you're not big
yes.
on that, are you?
Well, I am big on the concept, and I think there's some
Yeah.
very creative stuff in it. And I think that releasing a game in that state is despicable.
Well,
It's
fair
a
enough.
fucking mess.
I think it's fair in saying you're a bit less forgiving in terms of technical issues.
Yes, it didn't help that my one big experience with that game, which made me hate the fucking thing forever, is Cry and his friend said, hey, come play Friday the 13th with us. Like, well, I've never played it, but it's with friends. What could go wrong? What could go wrong is I probably ran into every fucking bug that the game had. And when I finally played Jason, I got a bug that broke my teleport.
You're going to need that.
Yeah, you are. So for the last 10 minutes of the game, I helplessly wandered around at a snail's pace, knowing that the people were the other side of the map, getting the cart, knowing they were there, were able to see them on the map. The teleport didn't work. I believe after that, I explained what happened, called the game a steaming dumpster fire of shit, and uninstalled it, thinking, why the fuck would anyone release this for $40 in this state? Like, this is worse than an early access game.
I can see how that will be very infuriating.
Indeed.
But yeah, I haven't experienced anything like that bad. Mostly it's been like weird visual glitches that I've seen, which can be fun. Which can be a lot of fun on stream. Like Jason kills someone and their ragdoll just flies 20 feet up into the air the moment it goes out of the animation.
Call it the Bethesda style glitch. It's like, my horse just went into orbit. This is wonderful.
Yeah, but it is very unpolished. And like a lot of one versus group multiplayer games, it's basically just hide and seek.
Yes.
But I was a fan of the Jason films growing up, and maybe that's colouring it a bit for me. But I got into it.
I mean, it's
I
thematically
appreciate-
strong. The
I
use of the
appreciate
music
the
and
broad
everything's
view
good.
of what it's doing, I guess, besides the lack of polish.
Yeah, and they did make an effort, which a lot of these bullshit asymmetric hide-and-seek games didn't, because I have not played one that I've liked yet, because they're all fucking boring, to actually throw in interesting mechanics and things for people to do other than just fucking hiding, and also
Yeah.
giving the monster an interesting suite of abilities that evolved over the course of the match. Like, escalation is a problem in those games a lot of the time. They
And,
never
I
get
think-
White Noise 2, we played that on stream. I was like, I was fucking bored to death by that fucking thing.
I'm always a bit nervous playing that sort of multiplayer game because I get a bit anxious about, my performance, making sure I'm giving a fun game for everyone else.
Yeah.
I think it is quite hard, assuming you don't get bugs like you described. I think it's quite hard to play Jason badly.
Yeah,
it's quite straightforward
possibly.
to be a very serious threat against the players, and I appreciate that.
It's an interesting situation because it is a game that works best when the players involved are sort of role-playing to some extent. And that, I think, is what a lot of its stream popularity comes from. I know, Jesse, you recently did a promo video for Dead by Daylight, which is a game I also hate, but you played it with friends, and the role-playing aspect came into play there as well.
Well, we played with friends, and admittedly, yes, it was a promo, so hashtag ad in front of all this.
Yes.
Like, we really enjoyed it because I never really have done that before where I played like one of you's going to hunt us down and kill us, and so we would switch off, and it was fun. But with all that said, the best game we had, and thankfully I captured it, it's on shameless plug. It's the very first bit of when we were playing for the promo video. It was myself and Gerard and Mathis and Dev, and we went up against just a random guy playing as Michael Myers. Whoever this guy was, I don't know who this dude is. I don't know what his deal was. He was the best Michael Myers you could ask for. He didn't run after you. He didn't there's one point where he hooked us all and then we escaped and we turned the corner and he's just standing at the stairs waiting for us. And, and then he slowly started coming down the stairs and we were like, we're freaking out. When he saw you, he didn't run after you. He would just slowly walk after you and let you feel like you were running away. It was amazing. And he started hunting us all down like Mike Myers would hunt you down. It wasn't like a dude playing. It was a guy living out his Mike Myers
role-playing Michael Myers. Yeah.
Holy shit, was it way more frightening. Yeah. It was terrifying because the guy was like, I'm gonna hunt you down and kill you and wait for you. And he'd set up traps and we'd turn the corner and he'd just be sitting there. And he wouldn't follow if you ran, he'd just be waiting for you. We were like, who is this guy? It was great. And it was that player who
that
really
made
set the tone
for you.
Set the tone for the rest of the day. That one guy made the game so much more fun.
That's the interesting part of games like that the quality of the game varies so wildly based on the people that you're playing with.
Yeah, that was a bit of a strike against Friday the 13th, especially on public servers, because every now and again you get a Jason who wants to narrate all their actions in a comedy voice through their microphone.
Yeah, it's like
gotta make a video, man. He's got to get that video out.
Yeah, I mean, because he probably imagines there's going to be the next big fucking streamer hit. It's like, yeah, it could be the most awesome experience and then the worst experience. And I think that if people are going to continue to make games like that, they're going to have to take that aspect into account, because the more reliant these games are on who you're playing with, the more likely it will be that you'll run into so many frustrating experiences that you won't want to play it anymore. And
well, this is a problem since time immemorial with multiplayer games. There'll always be some people who just want to grieve.
Yeah, I think that some games support it more than others, though. I mean, let's go back to Lawbreakers, for example. What is the extent that you could ruin a game of Lawbreakers for everybody else? You don't really have a lot of power to do that. Whereas in a game like Friday the 13th or Dead by Daylight, you have a shit ton of power to do that.
Yeah.
Because it's less focused on the mechanics and more focused on the personalities of the people involved.
Yeah, on the flip side of the coin, you get something like Battlefield 1, where no one can even keep track of what anyone's doing.
It's a clusterfuck. It's a can't see shit the video game. They're putting night maps in it. What are you fucking doing?
Yeah, I just want to stare at a black screen and listen to static for half an hour.
It's like, well, most of our maps are brown, and the uniforms are also brown, so have fun with that.
Thus.
Indeed. Ergo, also, since you didn't have enough trouble seeing shit, now it's nighttime. And here's a sandstorm, and it's raining somehow at the same time. Fuck you, people with eyes.
Love it.
Oh, God. Fucking game. Let's go a break. When we come back, the limited news and the releases. There's a lot of them. Jesse is playing the Michael Myers to our release list. this week. So
Perfect.
I can't wait to see how much he has carved it into little tiny bleeding pieces. We'll be right back after the break, folks. You're watching the Co-optional Podcast, Independence Day edition. Don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Co-optional Podcast for the last 40, 45 minutes or so of the show. It is a fairly boring July so far for video game news. A lot of the big stuff happened last week. The announcement of the Super Nintendo mini thing that is apparently already getting pre-orders cancelled in the UK. So
Great.
good start, Nintendo. We haven't learned from the last fucking 3 times, apparently. Awesome. Well done.
Jesus.
Well done.
But
Very
you
good.
should get it because it is Final Fantasy 3 / Final Fantasy 6 on there. So
I mean,
greatest
the-
game ever
Have
made.
have they decided finally?
Is
it 3 or
I think
6?
they officially
It
are
says
saying
3 on there, but
Yeah.
it's 6.
List says 3.
Yeah.
We talked about it last week that the game list is superb. There's no doubt. The question is whether you'll actually be able to get one, which probably no, you're not allowed. So emulators, they're pretty cool. Has anyone got anything that's been happening this week that sprung to mind as like, hey, this is kind of interesting and not awful? Yeah, this is the problem I had as well. There's a lot of little stuff like the Five Nights at Freddy's creator confirms that Five Nights at Freddy's 6 has been cancelled.
Oh no, my
Oh.
favorite series, dead forever.
This is terrible.
No.
Oh, no.
It's incredible how much money that series has made. They're making
Yeah.
a movie, apparently. Ha.
Yep.
Practically
You know
already
what?
was,
Here's the
right?
thing. I'm willing to say the movie is probably better than the game. It would probably be better than the game.
Well,
Depends.
presumably if there were a
Totally
movie, it
depends.
would actually have a story in it.
I mean, if you were to watch the YouTube conspiracy videos, there is definitely a story, my
Game
friend.
theory. No.
Christ.
No.
This is definitely
I
one of
don't-
those chicken and egg things. I'm pretty sure the conspiracy theories created the story for that game.
I don't mind. I don't mind jump scares. I like horror games, and if it gets me the jump scare, I'm like, oh, you got me. Look, it's when I'm anticipating a jump scare, and I know a jump scare is going to happen at any moment, and I can't stand it.
Yeah,
I get
that's-
really edgy playing something like that.
it's the same with movies, right? Like if you see a movie very obviously frame up a shot where you're like,
Yeah.
something's gonna pop out right there, and then it pops out, it's not very satisfying, right? Like
Yeah, and you just
You-
and the
you
soundtrack's gone all
projected your
silent.
intentions a bit too hard.
Soundtrack cuts out. Main character closes bathroom cabinet or pulls
Ah!
curtain aside.
Yeah.
Throw the entire orchestra off a building.
Yeah, and as for these games, they've sort of run their course. The dev says, I need a break. No, I'm not trolling you, which apparently he's done before. He said there'll be no other game and then release another game. Kind of wants to work on something else. I honestly
Awesome.
don't blame him
I'd be
at this
surprised.
I
point.
don't blame him.
No.
Well, you could guess that from that RPG thing he made.
Oh, yeah, the one he released, and there's like, this is actually terrible. Why did I do that? That was a bit
I
of
thought
a
it got
weird
reviewed
one.
pretty well, did it not?
No, it was disastrous, as I
God,
recall.
what am I thinking of then?
Not that one, definitely.
Not that one.
No, what? Because what was the story of that? It was a weird one. Yeah.
I got the sense that was sort of thing that he wanted to do something different, but he also wanted to leverage what he was known for.
Yeah.
And it didn't really gel.
Ah, yes, Five Nights at Freddy's World. Basically, he released it, pulled it from Steam because everyone's like, "This is terrible." Then
Mhm.
released it again for free, made some improvements. It's still terrible.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that's
So
what
the
happened with
opposite of what I said.
that. Basically, yes.
Great. Okay, cool.
So, good luck on whatever else you're working on, whatever that might be.
I mean, that's the hard thing, right? Is for the rest of his life, unless he's like really talented and makes something else that's great. For the rest of his life, everybody's going to be
He'll
like,
be known as the Five Nights at Freddy's guy.
he'll be
Yeah.
the Five Nights at Freddy's guy. Yeah, nothing that he
Yeah.
makes will ever be as popular as Five Nights at Freddy's was.
Kind of a notch situation. So, but
Yeah,
he may
kind of-
retire in his billionaire mansion and shitpost on the internet for the rest of his life. That's also a
Oh
possibility.
my god, that's my dream.
There's that.
Mm.
We talked about the changes for Hearthstone and Overwatch, the way that they're not ripping people off as much anymore, so that's nice. I mean, for fuck's sake, like the biggest fucking story this week, which people apparently thought was a story, is hey, the Anthem PS4 trailer on the PlayStation channel is actually Xbox footage, and they photoshopped over the control.
Shock horror.
Games journalism. And it's like, yeah, and a games journalism site this week just shut down. I wonder why this keeps happening when this is what constitutes games journalism these days. Ha ha.
Journalism in general, guys. Like, just journalism in
Well-
general is.
Let's not go that far. So there is something game related that kind of happened yesterday that I sort of want to bring up a bit, and a concept that's a bit adjacent to this, but is also connected to games journalism and such. The New York Times published an article, which let me get the exact title of this so I don't fuck it up. Men, video games. The title of the Why Some Men Don't Work. Video games have got really good, is the title for the article.
Okay.
So, as the internet does, it lost its shit before actually reading the article. And, I mean, you know, there's some jokes to be made at the expense of that title. Like, hard ones, like, wow, people who are working less do things they enjoy. What a fucking news story.
Yeah.
In reality, the article was about a study that was recently released by the National Bureau of Economic Research.
It mostly focuses on TV, doesn't it? The article?
No, it's more about how free time is being used versus current labor trends for the most part, and then breaking it down by demographics. So talking about the labor force of the 60s and 70s versus the labor force of 2017. It was economists Eric Hurst, I'm reading this directly from the New York Times article, Eric Hurst, Mark Aguilar, Mark Bills, Kerman Charles, arguing that video games explain to some extent why younger men are working fewer hours. They were comparing the trends of how men used to work versus how they're currently doing. Between 2004 and 2015, young men's leisure time grew by 2.3 hours a week. The majority of that increase, about 60%, according to that study, was then used to play video games. Whereas compared to young women's leisure time of the same sort of age range, the amount of time that was increased on video games was negligible. So they were breaking down what people do with their free time, all that kind of thing. They were explaining to an audience that clearly sort of doesn't know shit about video games that, hey, video games are more complicated and better now, which explains why people are investing more time in them and all that sort of thing, and talking about a few psychological aspects, characteristics about video games. The thing is, people assumed before reading the article that this would be the media just condemning video games again. It's like, hey, it's
Right.
the media's favorite fucking whipping boy. In reality, it was absolutely not that at all, but people couldn't get past the title.
Right.
I think video games stopped being the whipping boy when they started making all that money.
Right.
To some extent.
Also, does the
I
article
mean-
say any? Sorry, go for it.
I was going to say, people still blame video games before they blame TV. Like, video games are like
That still
the easy media to blame for,
I mean,
kids
it doesn't
acting
help
terrible.
when the media companies also own the television companies who video games are directly competing with. As some of these companies have acquired video game companies and been involved in that, you've seen that sort of go down. It's a very sort of transparent, aggressive move against competition for your free time, which is why a lot of that happens. And, the good old moral panic and shit like that, that we
Right.
still haven't fully grown out of. But it's... I found the article far more interesting than it gave it credit for, but there was a lot of people throwing this word around that is starting to actually get on my nerves a bit, which is clickbait. It is clickbait.
Sorry.
apparently,
The article, you mean?
yes, apparently the article was clickbait. The title of the article is verbatim: "Why Some Men Don't Work. Video Games Have Gotten Really Good." That's the title of the article.
It's a bit of a roller coaster of a title, isn't it?
It's not a brilliant
no.
title, but
Well,
it
no,
is
it's not-
descriptive
it's
of
not
what it
clickbait.
says.
Clickbait is like 6 reasons why men don't work so much. Number 6 will
Number
surprise
3
you.
will yeah.
Yeah.
Number 3 will
Or-
shock you.
Or something in the title that isn't in the article at all, which
Right.
happens quite a lot.
Yeah.
The title deals directly with the subject matter of the article in a fairly accurate way.
I think what defines clickbait is that the headline has to in some way challenge the reader.
There's
They say,
a lot
you'll
of
be
that.
surprised by this.
Yeah,
You won't believe this.
there's a lot of questioning the viewer to the point where
Yeah.
it's provoking them to click on it. It's like, well, I bet I won't be.
Yes.
And it's like, I personally have a personal gripe against why you should articles and videos.
Hmm.
That's like don't tell me what to do, you fucking video.
Right.
That's bothersome. Is that clickbait? I mean, it's provocative, but if the contents of the video is a persuasive piece going to bat for the thing that they say they're going to bat for, that isn't clickbait.
Right.
It's just a provocative title.
Right.
Does the I'm curious about the article itself. I haven't read this, but I'm curious. Does it say anything about the fact that I feel like if you're going to create an article where you're talking about young men or young people in general in video games, now they spend more time doing that.
Yeah.
I would hope that somewhere in that article it also includes the fact that the reason why they want to work less is because the jobs are shit. The jobs they have access to are garbage. Or the fact that they're trying to, like, it's an escape from X, Y, and Z. Like, there's so many other factors than just like games are good now. Like, people want to play more games because everything else they're doing is shitty. Like, they don't they don't have the money to go out and do crazy things. They buy a $6 game and they sit inside and play that for hours and hours because that's the only leisure they can afford at the moment.
Yeah, that is addressed to some extent. There's a paragraph that says, in some ways, the increase in video game time for men makes sense. Median wages for men have been stagnant for decades. Over the same period, quality of video games has grown significantly. They're talking about, they bring up the social aspect. They bring up World of Warcraft as an example of, this is a social activity that people are participating in, and it's replacing other social activities that they may participate in. There's a routine daily progress that does a good job of replacing traditional work, they said, to some extent. And they're mentioning that on average, young non-college educated men are more likely to be happier than similar men a decade ago. And there's a lot of correlation causation going on there, which is why some people are skeptical of the findings of the study. But they do bring that up, yeah.
I was a while back too. I was reading about how societally, like, the expectation for men not too long ago was like, the thing that you can do for the family is work. And like, if
Right.
you work overtime, like, that's a point of pride. Like, you should be working all the time, right?
Yeah,
And
I mean,
if-
I'd say my generation was brought up with that
Yeah.
attitude, very much so, to the point where I do define quite a lot of my self-worth as a male as how much can I work and how much money can I make for the family, and that defines
Exactly.
a lot of my personal pride.
Yeah, and I think if we're now saying, oh, men are working a normal amount and enjoying their leisure time, that's a good thing, right? Like we're finally working towards a point where we can say to dudes, like, you don't have to be working constantly in order to be like a value to your family and to society, right? Like, it's
I mean,
okay
I think
for
it's a
you to
healthy thing to say to
play video
anybody
games.
that your personal worth as a human being is not defined by how many fucking hours you spend with your nose to the grindstone.
Yep.
I think America in particular is obsessed with the notion of you need to work as much as fucking possible, and if you don't, you are lazy and worthless and bullshit,
For sure.
Who was the science fiction writer who said the ultimate goal of humanity should be 100% unemployment?
Yeah.
That
Well,
all the robots can take care of it. We can just
And
it
we
all
can
handed
just
out.
fucking exist.
well, I mean, it's a very
Yeah.
Star Trek
Talk
thing,
about-
isn't it? The whole point, the human race was elevated as one, by nuking each other to death, two, by meeting the Vulcans, but three, the Federation of Planets is based on the idea that, look, people want for nothing, so they pursue higher goals.
Yeah, it's all about self-improvement.
Yes, and improvement of the
focusing on-
whole as well,
Yeah.
because they have now the freedom to do so. Which then gets into political arguments like universal basic income and the fact that shit we're going to have to be dealing with sooner rather than later because robots are coming for your fucking jobs.
But that's
Well, not our jobs.
No, that is the wonderful thing about
Until robots
entertainment.
can come up with a good dick joke.
Yeah, I was going to say,
There-
robots aren't entertaining
robot
at all.
assholes.
Yes.
Can't take
in theater theory, I'm trying to remember what his name was, but there was a guy who wrote a whole like series of theoretical articles about how he believed that the ultimate actor and entertainer is what's called an Übermarionette, which is just like a puppet that gets to be directly controlled by the people who want the entertainment,
Okay.
which would be a robot. So, I mean, like, some people think that robots would be better at this than us.
Look, it all comes back to Trek, man. This is that Star Trek thing where in the future they just do stuff because they want to better themselves. And I think at least for America, knowing the insane history of this country, the reason why we have that, like, we gotta work is everyone besides the whole, like, we have to be better than the Russians and that kind of shit. Like, going back all the way, it's the idea that the people for some reason get it mixed up when they think about the history of humanity. Like, when we, even we were cavemen, we were working, like, and that's how civilization was built, is we farmed and we all worked.
It's because you need
Over
to do
time,
that to
though,
live, and saber-tooth tigers were trying to eat you all the time.
Yeah. But over time,
They're
the
not
idea
doing
of
that
work
anymore.
changed from, like, a communal good, like, I am farming, or I am doing this, or I'm doing this, or I am the warrior class, whatever, to help my society, to now I collate papers, and I do this because the corporation that pays me needs me to, like, it's a different level, but people lose that track of, like, oh, it's not for the good of anything anymore. I'm just doing it because I need paychecks so I can buy goods and services. And I think the optimal future would be, we are working because it benefits all of us, and we're doing it because it's like something I know I'm giving back and I get something from it, which is not necessarily money, but it's like,
It's
man, do I
fulfillment,
feel good that
personal
I helped?
fulfillment.
Yeah, I helped today and did something, and, like, that's the peak. I don't know if it's like we just lay about and do shit. It's like, fuck it, robots are doing all that boring shit. Let's do things that help society. And I think
Yeah.
like that's the key.
Well, you got to get people to feel like they're invested in society first.
Yeah,
Right,
I was
yeah,
gonna
I think
say,
that's a
you
little-
gotta make it so that people aren't shitty anymore,
Ah,
which
yes.
And that's the
might
American
never happen.
society is
Work for yourself and strive for yourself and do good for you and take care of your family, when it's like, long time ago the family was the community, right?
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
that's changed.
it takes a village, etc. But also, villages at certain points were mostly like made up of the same or a couple of families because nobody would move.
Right.
So there's also that.
Yeah, it's interesting looking at fiction in the ways that some people have interpreted how that will go, because it will assuming we don't wipe ourselves out prior to that, like, it will happen, and some are very hopeful about it, like Star Trek, and then some are really not, like the story of the Eldar and Warhammer 40,000, where it's like, we want for nothing. So as a direct result, we become complete and total fucking hedonists and create a chaos god that kills us all because we were too lazy
That
and
sounds right.
hedonistic. And
That
it's
one
like,
sounds right.
which way is that going to go?
Well, and that is what makes good science fiction. It's because we stand at the precipice of that. Either we wipe ourselves out because we're fucking idiots, or we create something better. But that's what makes right now kind of cool.
I got a question for you. Would you want to live in Logan's Run?
No.
Wait, what's Logan's Run?
Logan's
dumb?
Run is the movie starring Michael York, which is a totally hedonistic society where you'd want for nothing, have sex every night with whoever you want, and basically just live for pleasure. But you have to die at 30.
No.
No. My honestly, any of those stories where it's like some major aspect of society completely breaks down and people have to go back to like mostly living on farms and shit, that's the sort of
That's 'cause you'd be
apocalyptic
prepared for that, though.
situation.
No,
Yeah,
I don't-
that's the
not
sort of
too bad.
apocalyptic situation that I would dig, because I'd just be like, oh, I'll just go back to being on a farm. That's easy. Like I've did that for most of my life.
mean,
I'm
Mad
down
Max.
for that.
I'm ready for Mad Max. I would put on a weird.
You and
face
Sam.
mask.
Sam would
Oh,
be
yeah.
like, "See you, baby. I'm going to the desert. Fuck
Sam,
this."
get in my car. We're going to the desert. We're gonna make our crazy club. Yeah. We just pour milk on people. I don't know what the hell goes on. Man, just like welcome. Yeah. Oh, I'd have a Thunderdome. I'd be ready.
I was going to say, I'm not sure that most of Mad Max was pouring milk on people, but okay. I don't recall
And-
that
and
too much.
that's
in
what
the,
Jesse
in Fury
remembers.
Road. Okay.
That's my Mad Max. Welcome to the Milk Dome.
What?
and, and they're just jets that like shoot milk into the sky. Everybody's like, "Yeah!"
No,
It's like the Rafe scene in Blade.
it didn't
Just
work
was
its
like-
way in any way.
Yes, good.
I don't know how we got here, to be honest.
Thanks, New
You
York
asked about
Times.
Logan's Run. It went immediately.
Yeah.
It's
But
a
yeah,
good film.
it is. It is kind of must-watch sci-fi classic that people should probably watch. A little dated now, but
I love that old style sci-fi.
That's
You ever watch Silent Running?
don't recall that.
There's a film by Doug Trumbull, who was like the special effects guy on 2001: A Space Odyssey.
one.
But it's it's a real tearjerker as well.
Hmm.
It's about a hippie who maroons himself in space with the last forests on Earth. It's fun. I like that era of sci-fi. The whole
Yeah.
2001: A Space Odyssey thing.
Forbidden Planet. Let's go all
I
the way out
think-
of that. That terrified the fuck out of me as a kid.
Oh, the black hole with that evil robot. That got me. Remember that movie? That was
Yeah.
a Disney movie and it got me.
If I could live in one of the like futuristic sci-fi sort of ideas, it would probably be Shadowrun. I'd be totally down to exist
Shadowrun?
in a Shadowrun world.
Shadowrun?
Yeah.
That's
Where,
not a
like-
pleasant place.
But like I could live with the fucking elves in the forest communing with nature and know that there's crazy cyberpunk shit happening in the cities.
Oh dear.
And that way I'd get the best of both. I'd be like, science went too far over there and I'm over here. And if I remember right, in like the Shadowrun universe, Portland becomes like one of the elf hubs. So really I could just go back home.
Of course it does. I'm not sure if it isn't already one of the elf hubs at this point. God.
Try our coffee. We make it here.
Shane,
Oh, homebrew.
Portland, Elf Hub.
Indeed.
Yeah. That's what it is.
Oh my. This is what happens when there's very little news. A couple of minor things. Rebellion are making Evil Genius 2. Don't
Yeah, I saw
fuck this
that.
up. Don't fuck this up, please.
Yeah, I remember buying that back in the day.
Oh, good old Evil Genius.
Because
Yeah.
I was sold on the idea, a rare
Yeah,
idea.
it's a great idea.
I didn't need a hype video. I didn't need to read a review. I was just sold on the idea by itself. I wanted to see how they did that.
Yep, a Dungeon Keeper-esque game with a secret island lair. Had quite a lot of problems. And then they made a
you're
stupid fucking Facebook version of it that was terrible. This is a
Yeah.
full price release, not free to play, full game, apparently. Don't fuck it up, please.
And
That
and they specifically say it's not just a remake.
Yes, they're full brand new game. Yep, they confirmed that. Nier Automata has sold like 500,000 units on PC and has not been patched once in 4 months. And it still has problems for a lot of people. So maybe Square Enix and Platinum should get the fuck on that. Great game,
But they needed to get out their DLC where you defeat all of the CEOs
yes,
first.
that was the fucking priority. And the sexy outfits. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yep. According to the GTA forums, Open 4 is back in development, but Liberty City in GTA 5 is cancelled because it contradicts Rockstar's modding policy. So,
What
yeah.
What?
What? Wait, what?
What
Gee-
policy?
Their policy of we want money for shark cards and shit, so we're going to fuck you over mods, apparently is their policy. That was announced an hour ago. Let's say Liberty City in GTA 5, which is exactly what it sounds like. They're trying to make Liberty City in GTA 5, is cancelled because it, quote, clearly contradicts the Rockstar modding policy. What exactly the Rockstar modding policy fucking is? Well, they released one a week or so ago. It's not really a policy. It says our PC single player mods allowed. We believe in reasonable fan creativity. Take-Two has agreed it will not generally take legal action against third-party projects involving Rockstar PC games that are single-player, non-commercial, and respect the IP of third parties. This doesn't apply to multiplayer. This isn't a license, doesn't constitute an endorsement, approval, or anything fucking else, and we can basically sue you at any time. We're friendly.
So the plan for that was just to copy-paste Liberty City from GTA 4 into the GTA 5 engine?
I mean, I think they were sort of rebuilding it kind of from the ground up, I would imagine. They're not allowed to do that.
Man,
Fucking
whatever.
Rockstar and...
Oh, well. Back to
Yeah.
making titty mods for Skyrim.
Yep.
no, but for real, keep that up.
Bethesda might even hire you and pay you development milestones for doing that now.
Oh my god.
It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, Bethesda's anti-modding. They're willing to pay us for modding, whereas Rockstar is fucking threatening legal action against people at fucking random. Yeah, all right, sure.
Yeah, I think there's one
Okay,
that I
into
would
that.
obviously choose
Yeah,
as better than the
yeah.
other.
Which one? God, such a hard fucking decision.
Titty mods.
Titty mods.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the sound of that.
That's it, I think, pretty much. That's about it.
July.
Yay.
July.
Cool. Get to
Sun-
catch up
the
on shit I've missed. That's fine.
The sun's out. Everyone's having fun. In the...
Guns up, bro.
Yep. Want
Bruh.
to be out of here right now to do that. But we do have releases first. Jesse, you've got less Michael Myers and more mutually assured destruction on this list by the looks of it. It has been wiped out in nuclear fire. Good lord. There was like 100 games, there's now about 10. What the
Yeah.
fuck?
Many
What-
of them were like you're a ball and you have to roll through this maze,
Great.
or like
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of them were bad. So
What have you
I've
got
played
against
bits.
Euroball games? I played some great Euroball games on the Commodore 64.
There's only one good Euro Ball game. It's called The Ball.
Ah.
Simple. Though Marble Madness qualifies too, I think. So
Okay,
Yeah.
y'all ready?
Super Monkey Ball maybe as well. Okay, there's actually quite a few Euro Ball games that aren't too bad. All right, I can see the point.
Y'all ready?
Yee, sure. What do we got?
Okay. For the 4th of July, aka
Yes.
today, we have Metamorphose S, a
Okay.
2D action adventure game with RPG elements.
yeah, this
Mm.
game looks pretty flashy, like Flash made, but but it
Okay.
seems
yeah.
I mean, it looks interesting. Like visually, there's a lot of cool enemies and things going on there. So if you can get over the fact that it looks like you're playing it on Newgrounds, it
Yeah.
kind of has like cool enemies, and I'm down with that.
Okay, I'm seeing an armored dinosaur.
There's a big fish man right there.
Main guy looks a little bit like the original Dante from Devil May Cry, but with blue hair.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah, I could see that.
Animations are a little jank, let's just say, on it.
Newgroundsy is the proper answer.
Yeah,
Yes.
flashy.
Okay,
Animations with the
Little flash.
emphasis on anime.
indeed. All right, okay.
Next
what do we
up
got?
is Quantized.
Quantized.
It's like a VR music experience. With
Oh, yeah.
Digitally
the old-
generated audio reactive. I was in. I want this so badly because it's gonna be weird.
Is this
This
just a
is
fucking
like-
Winamp visualizer for VR?
Yeah, I was about to say, like an audio visualization for
I
VR.
think so. I think so.
Well, if you really want to get a headache as fast as is humanly possible, cue up some Napalm Death and stick
Yeah,
this on.
absolutely.
the
Sounds
next
great.
game.
Like if you really want to get out of having sex with your spouse.
This
Napalm,
is it. This is fun.
look, I refuse to believe that Napalm Death is anything other than an aphrodisiac at this point.
The
Dragon
next
Force,
game-
How about Dragon Force.
Now that okay. Oh God, through the fire and the flames. Yeah. All right.
Anyway,
Yes.
The next game
Yes.
is called That's You for PS4.
Okay.
And
that's
I would
not on
just like
Steam,
to
so
say
what's
the
that?
first review that I found of it is by a person named Sam Brook, and I'm weirded out.
Mhm.
Anyway, Jesse, what is this game? Because it looks
It's
weird
not on
as fuck.
Steam, so what is it?
Truthfully, I it's a PS4 game that I have no idea what it is. It looks like
Okay.
a party game, and except it like is using real use. It's using you in the party game. I literally have no clue. It's like a Jackbox game kind of,
right.
but
Jump
still
into a
here.
party game that is all about you. That's what I've got so far.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
it's sort of a kind of use your words, Jackbox-esque things. Yeah, it looks like they probably used the PlayStation camera, and it's like fill in the blank kind of thing, which
Mhm.
are fun.
On July 5th, we have Speedrunners coming to PS4.
Oh, finally, that's been out
yeah.
on PC for a while now. Good game.
On July 6th, we have Preta Vendetta Rising.
All right, so it's an early access. It has a nice logo font. I'll give it that. It's what, a VR hack and slash. Wait a minute. What is a MORPG? Just multiplayer online RPG?
I don't know.
Not
Maybe.
massively.
Or just a massive online RPG.
Yeah, I was
No,
gonna say,
no.
Or the other, I
there
guess.
does seem to
What?
be like an M missing from that usual one. It's usually MMORPG.
Mm.
Why
Oh,
is
it's
this
co-op
in-
with 3 players, it says.
Oh, so just a regular multiplayer game.
Mhm.
This is a very strange choice for VR. It's in third person, behind the character, a bit spectacle fightery.
Yeah.
Why would you make this in VR?
Yeah.
What's
That's the question
the
that hangs
point?
over anything that isn't first person, I suppose.
Yeah, some people were making. I think it was when they showed Star Child at E3, and we had, I think, Jeff Canada come on the show and defend that and said, actually, I played and it was great. Mostly because play a 2D game that you can turn your head and see what would otherwise you would not be able to see is
Right.
kind of actually quite neat. But this, I'm not seeing the benefit of it being in VR from that perspective.
This next game looks right up my fucking alley.
That's why I
Um,
picked it.
It's called Baobab's Mausoleum, Episode 1. Ovnifagos, don't eat flamingos.
Was that a
fucking
Mad
what?
Lib?
It looks like a crazy horror-ish RPG.
It says it's Monkey Island meets Zelda Link's Awakening meets Twin Peaks meets SpongeBob SquarePants.
I was getting an
One of these
Earthbound vibe
pictures
from
has
the
a
video.
bunch of people hanging dead from a tree. So
There's a giant monster
this
like
looks
out in the woods. It's crazy.
terrifying, awesome.
Oh, God.
hmm
And has it got this like retro TV effect going through the whole thing?
Yeah, it's a CRT kind of.
It's just
shit
the
going
trailer,
on.
I think.
Is there just like a plugin you can download now to stick a CRT style
Yeah,
look on
pretty
your
much.
game?
Yeah, it's becoming somewhat overused to some extent.
Yeah.
Next up is Revenant Saga for Wii U.
It's a JRPG, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, and then after that is Kirby's Blowout Blast for 3DS.
What a fucking title.
Mhm.
Oh, God.
We've got some ACA Neo Geo Metal Slug 2 for the Switch.
Finally.
Hmm.
There was a platform that didn't have Metal Slug on it, and now that has been resolved.
Right, all fixed.
Yeah.
Basically, it's going to be a success now.
I'm sure.
Toby, The Secret Mine for
I
PS4.
called it a mine. Mine!
Ooh, the art in this looks interesting.
Puzzle platform inspired by Limbo and Badland.
Oh, right.
Inspired is one way to put it.
So small child scary world game.
Uh,
Gotcha.
Mm.
Kinda, but you look like you're a monster of some sort, like a little monster.
Bah.
Doesn't
So
look.
it's Hollow Knight inspired as well.
Yes, yeah. It's very inspired, honestly. It came out actually a couple of years ago on PC. They've obviously ported it now. It has mixed reviews, unfortunately.
Oh well.
Next up is Vaccine for Switch.
There's that.
Vaccine is that game that was on Steam for a while. Literally, it's co-op, and one of your friends gets sick, and so you have to like go through a creepy mansion to save them.
Oh yeah, the random
Oh.
random house. Will you be able to uncover the
Yeah.
mystery, save your friend kind of thing? Switch is a. Oh yeah, this is the one that looked like the first Resident Evil in its graphic
Yep.
style, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've been looking on the Switch store and it's asking me to verify my age before it shows
Yeah,
me.
it made me verify my age too.
That's interesting for a Nintendo platform game.
Yeah, it looks very much like the first
re-
Resident Evil. It
really does.
really
yes.
does, which is kind of neat because that's not a style where you see a lot.
Next up is Shephy, Shephy, Shephy. It's a
Hmm.
game about sheep? Question
Cool.
mark?
Yeah, it's,
It's a single player card game for
Cool.
Switch.
About sheep?
So, yeah, about sheep.
Good.
About sheep?
About sheep.
Cool. Next up is Heroes Never Die on July 7th.
Yeah, this is out. Well, actually, it was supposed to be out on June the 1st. Evidently not. It's a next-gen shooting game, whatever the fuck that means. I'm
Is
trying
it
to.
called that to get Overwatch players to give it a second look?
Maybe. I mean, graphically it looks fairly impressive. I'm looking at it right now, and I'm just like, what is the gameplay? It has VR, because of course it does. Oh,
Right.
here's the gameplay, and
It's
just
an
seems to,
action-adventure game, which tells us a lot.
yeah, it just seems to be a behind-the-shoulder kill monsters thing.
And then the
Well-
VR mode is like first person, I guess? Question mark.
Yeah.
It was looking like, what's that game? That's like Thief or you're a goblin.
Oh, Sticks.
Yeah, it was giving me that sort of vibe with the orc and the thief-looking dude. But then there's a dude in a hockey mask with a chainsaw.
Yep, and there's
Right.
also John McCready, the cowboy, and a guy that clearly is fucking Legolas and stuff.
So
Yeah, oh, there's the
basically
VR
all
mode,
over the
yeah.
place.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. So the VR mode is first person with teleporting, basically. It's
Right.
another VR early access shooter. Again, maybe stick to the ones that are finished.
The next game is called Sebay, Psebay. It looks like Trials meets Limbo.
Yeah, it kind of does. That's neat. There's also some weird gravity going on with it, because the guy just
Yeah.
floated in the
Oh.
ceiling
The
and
map
died.
and stuff. That's cool.
That's very limbo, isn't it?
Yeah.
In terms of look.
Neat and
environment space.
interesting combination of the two.
Could you imagine just driving through limbo on a motorbike? Smash that fucking spider straight off.
Yeah, fuck that spider. Goddamn terrifying bastard.
The, ne-
Oh, for God's sake.
the next game is called Shit on Your Friends.
I mean, that's
Of
what
course
we
it
do
is.
on every co-optional podcast,
So-
but
We don't need a game for that.
please tell me this is not by the devs of fucking Poop in My Soup or whatever the hell it is.
I'm more interested.
I mean,
than
it might
guessing
be.
it's on the list.
You know why it's on the list, because he left it in there. Yep, it is quite literally an arena game about shitting on your friends. Cool.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Nice.
the video games were a mistake.
Next is Radioactive on July 10th.
I had to include one VR game.
What do you
We
mean one
had, like-
VR game? You've
yeah, we
included
had
like
two.
5 VR games.
It's like shoot. I don't know.
Great. Probably play Arizona Sunshine rather than this. It is yet another early access, huge VR world scavenger hunt survive. Yeah, I'm sure it will when you finish it in 3 fucking years. But play
And then-
Arizona Sunshine, because it's a better version of this, basically.
And then the real game that we should be talking about is the
Okay.
last one.
Gorn.
Gorn.
It's a VR gladiator simulator.
Do
Boy, does
I
it
get
get
to
to me.
attack? Do as fucking Captain Kirk? Do I get to double axe handle a motherfucker? It looks like the answer to this might be yes.
Yeah, it's a Devolver game, so you know it's going
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
primo.
A violent VR gladiator simulator made by the devs of Brohorse and Genital Jousting? Okay. All right, I'm kind of in on this now.
Can we talk about how during the clip when he fights, he just gives the guy a middle finger
He
before
gets the middle
punching?
finger and then just punches it in the fucking face.
That's amazing.
This is what VR was built for.
Yep.
I'm just not sure there seems to be much to it, except there's one arena
really.
and one or two beefy
Oh, you
dudes.
just ripped off the guy's head.
Yeah, and that beyond the pretty cool trailer, you are very much right on that. The problem is, again, it's early access, which is again
Yeah.
unfortunate. But
Right.
the sense of humor certainly looks pretty cool.
Yeah, just a bit tech demo-y at present.
Yeah, it's all a lot of VR stuff is at the minute. Wow,
Oh
that
well.
was the good stuff out of the list. Fuck
I'm not
me.
joking. That was the good stuff.
Oh no.
That's it. The end.
Yep. Basically, pick whatever you can up in the Steam sale and probably play that instead of any of those things. There is nothing on that list that I care about. Wow. Cool. Great.
Show's over, everyone.
Yeah, it
That's
pretty
it.
much is.
Go home.
We are actually
Shut it,
done.
shut it down.
Yep.
Shut it down.
We are done, but we would love to tell you what's coming up, where you can find us, all that good stuff. Yahtzee, thank you very much for taking the time.
Yeah.
Once again,
You're
have you
welcome. Always a pleasure.
very, very busy schedule to join us. You are busy on a lot of different projects right now. Tell us where to find you and what's going on.
Well, I'm still making Zero Punctuation every week for theescapistmagazine.com, as well as my other series, Judging by the Cover, every Friday. I've been streaming a lot more lately as well. I do a Wednesday stream at 11 a.m. Pacific after Zero Punctuation comes out of the game I reviewed that week with the other Escapist lads, and I've been streaming at the weekend with my girlfriend, mainly Dark Souls and games that she likes, because
What's
I make her
URL
play
for your
Dark
stream?
Souls, and then I have to let her play something she likes.
Ah, yes. What's the URL for your stream?
It's twitch.tv/Escapist Magazine
Very
that
cool.
we use. What else? Well, you could buy my books as well.
That you should. As
Yeah.
we found out, currently making my way through your latest one on Audible, as it turns out.
Oh, yes. And how are you finding that one?
That it is coming along quite nicely to the point where I recommended it. So, yeah.
Right,
it
yes, I
is
remember.
good.
I should probably say what it's called. We'll Save
That
the Galaxy
helps.
for Food,
Indeed.
which is
Yeah.
out on Audible and ebook on Kindle and plain old print version if you're stuck in the 90s, you daddy-o.
Yeah, Mogworld and Jam are on there as well, if I recall correctly.
Yep, also ebooks not Audible, but We'll Save the Galaxy for Food's my most recent one. It's a sci-fi satire.
There you go.
Oh, and
Jesse,
my game,
oh,
The Consuming Shadows, is half price on the Steam sale at the moment.
Awesome.
So
Jesse,
check it out.
What's coming out in the channel this week? What's going on?
Yo, just more of the Final Fantasy 15 stuff I talked about, so you can see what that's all about, and just more fun. Sips and I are going to assassinate Hitler at some point this week, so get ready for that.
You're doing that DLC
Great.
for Sniper Elite 4. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a contest. First one get there wins.
Ah,
So
Shoot him in the
Watch out.
balls.
yes.
yeah,
to
oh,
shoot
that's
him
the
in
whole
the-
point.
Best
whoever
part
can-
of that game.
If
No
he doesn't
doubt.
get shot in the balls, we have to restart. That's the challenge.
And then you have to
So-
sing the song. Shoot him in one testicle and then sing the song. You know the song.
Uh,
I refuse.
Adolf Hitler's only got one ball. Yeah.
That's the one.
The other one's hanging in the elbow hole,
Yes.
if I recall
Which is-
correctly.
Yep. And his mother, the dirty bugger, cut it off when he was small.
Yes, he did. I got in trouble during electronics class at school. for
Happy
singing that
Independence
song.
Day, everybody.
Happy Independence Day, everyone.
What could be more freedom inspiring than that? Chopping off Hitler's balls. Dodger, what you got coming up this week? What's going on?
Finally getting back into YouTube stuff since being gone. We have lots to talk about from Anime Expo, so that'll be happening. And then yeah, just streaming. Gonna be doing some more Final Fantasy 14 stuff, and we have a shirt for sale. We have a new shirt for sale. If you guys would like to check it out, it's a good one. You can find it at dexbon.us/Nyandere. Good
I'm sorry,
goofs,
what?
good goofs. Nyandere.
Yeah.
How would you spell
Anime
that?
things, basically.
Nyandere. Like yandere, but like
Oh.
nyan, because it's a cat yandere.
Oh.
Yeah.
Still don't get it. What?
But yeah, come watch my streams. We have fun and watch this again next
What
week.
are you eating right now?
What? This?
You have a- What is that?
It's a red bean bun.
Where did you get that?
I got it at 85 degrees
When did you get that?
this morning.
Why wasn't I getting that?
You could go get one.
That's because you
You did this on purpose.
just to confirm, Jesse, just to let you know, and even I know this, your office is surrounded by like Chinese and Japanese supermarkets all fucking over the place. How have you not noticed?
Mm.
But I didn't think it's a
Well,
problem I have.
that is a constant problem, yep. As for me, I do want to look at Anti-Hero this week. Very happy to see that that is finally out. So, well, I have review code. When's the embargo on that fucking thing? I can't remember. Soon, if not already. So, that. There's otherwise, like, not a lot of good PC stuff kind of coming out at the moment, so I'll probably dig back and look for some other stuff. I may get around to doing that Dark Souls versus Bloodborne card game comparison video, where I dig
You
into...
should.
I should, where I dig into mechanics. The last time I did a video digging into board game mechanics, people got really mad that John Cena wasn't in it. As in the actual John Cena, as
Oh
a
my God.
co-commentator.
God,
I
John
gotta
Cena
know.
got him. John
I
Cena
have to
got
know.
him.
All right.
John Cena got him. Oh,
You see, this, I believe it was accused of being clickbait, actually, as I recall correctly. At the time, I thought I'd come up with a ridiculously fucking pretentious title, which was Thematic Mechanical Abstraction, featuring John Cena.
Mm.
The whole notion being, hey, how do you translate abstract thematic concepts into physical board game mechanics in a way that actually enhances and invokes the theme? Which, weirdly enough, a fucking board game about WWE does better than almost every other board game. So I thought, hey, just that's a kind of a funny title. People assumed that John Cena was actually co-hosting the video and got very upset that he wasn't. So I had to change the title to In a Card Game About John Cena. So thank you very much, Internet, for that. You ruined everything. So I should be careful with the title for my Dark Souls board game mechanics video, apparently.
Oh my God, TB, I forgot to tell you.
What?
Yes.
So Total Biscuit sent Sam and I a big old haul of stuff as a wedding gift, and it was amazing.
Yes, it was all terrible.
He sent a yodeling bacon that didn't work, so then he proceeded to send us 5 more yodeling bacons. TB,
They don't have
none of them
batteries.
work.
What?
None of them were-
They-
not one of
None
Are
of them
like
work.
batteries not included, or are they all the yodeling
There are
bacon?
batteries in them, and they do not work.
Are you fucking kidding me? That's $55 of yodeling bacon.
I know.
Fuck.
I don't know what to tell you, my dude.
Do I
Not
need to
one.
send 12 more yodeling bacon? God damn it. All right.
I think they're all just busted. I think
Right.
it's a ruse.
Okay, let's play name and shame the supplier. Who is sending us fucking fake yodeling bacon? Who is responsible for this shit?
Spoiler, it's not even bacon, it's plastic.
Of course it's plastic.
Yeah, because
right.
we were expecting the yodeling bacon to be actual alive
Okay.
piece of meat.
Fuck JB Superstore, the suppliers of all the yodeling bacon. It's return eligible through August the 2nd. Return that motherfucking yodeling bacon to those bastards.
I will. I'm going to return all of them.
I don't think she will. Because they'll still be in her office. Next time you're here, you're gonna go in her office. They're just gonna be fucking sitting there. I don't think she will.
I do like the idea of
Oh, you're
hiding
lying
them
to me.
places. But not if they're not going to yodel. Fuck.
Buy batteries and put them in.
This is disgusting.
But there are batteries in them. That's
Put
why
in
it's
new-
confusing.
Put in new
None of
batteries.
them work. We interrupt this co-optional podcast to bring you a special and important announcement. As it turns out, Dodger is actually an idiot. Each of the 6 yodeling bacon sent is entirely fine, they just didn't have batteries in them. This is something that Dodger neglected to check, and JB Superstore is not in any way responsible for this stupidity. We would like to apologize to JB Superstore for the frankly slanderous accusations, and please feel free to politely remind Dodger the next time you see her that she needs to read boxes before doing things.
Do you think
I
that's
mean,
the problem? Just all the batteries are busted?
It's
I
possible.
imagine no
Can
one
you
has
replace
ever
the
bought
batteries in those
yodeling
things?
bacon. These are probably first run limited.
They're all like corroded inside.
Nobody
Just
tested
existed
the
for
yodeling
so
bacon.
long.
These were not properly QA'd. Oh,
No.
God. I'm
Meanwhile, the creator of
really
the yodeling
fucking
bacon-
sad now.
Mm.
God damn it.
Well, if you can't be cheered up by yodeling bacon, what is wrong with the world?
Independence Day is ruined. Thank you very much for watching the Co-optional Podcast, folks. Big thanks to Yahtzee as our guest today. Thanks to Jesse and Dodger for the show, and thank you for you to watching. That's not a sentence, but I like it anyway.
Thank
We're
you
going to
for
be
you
uploading.
two. Yeah, Bono. Keep it
yeah,
up.
yeah. The VOD will be on YouTube on Thursday for those who missed it. If you are a subscriber to the channel, you'll be able to watch the video basically right now, which is lovely. So you'll be able to catch up on that at any time for your convenience. We're done. Thank you very much again to our sponsor, Squarespace. Check out squarespace.com/cooptional for 10% off your first order and your free trial. Go make a terrible website. You know you want to. We're done. Goodbye.